Welcome in A to Z Sports NFL Draft Live here on day 2 for the second round and the third round of the NFL Draft. Austin Stanley, Zach Bingham, Buck Rising here live from our own individual studios as the Titans are creeping closer and closer to being on the clock for the second time in the NFL Draft 2020. We will update you. We will ask you guys questions, get you involved on what position do you think the Titans should draft here as we get closer and closer and have live reaction after the 61st overall pick is made. Zach, welcome in. Let's get this thing going.
Yeah, man. This is day 2, night 2. We're ready to rock and roll. We got our tri-stream going. Buck, how you doing down there, bud?
I'm living just fine, baby. I've had my second thing of cold brew. I am ready to rock, and I'm ready to talk about all of the things that have just happened in the previous pick. So let's get this thing underway.
Yeah, I'm running on water, and I still got plenty of energy. We're going to go all night long, maybe burn a little midnight oil. Before we get going, though, before we get your reaction, before we talk about what has just happened with Jalen Hurts and a bunch of other picks, guys off the board for the Titans that we've talked about leading up to this point, we want you guys to share the show, share the broadcast, react live with us. Bottom right corner of your screen, if you're watching on Twitter/Periscope, please share the show. We need to pop up in your Twitter followers timeline. How that works, those 3 little dots. Tap that bad boy and retweet us to pop up in that timeline. Also, Facebook. What's going on, Facebookers? We need your help as well. Please share the show, bottom left corner of your screen. Share now to public. Sharing is caring, even on a Friday night. So share around. We got to pop up in your Facebook friends' news feed. More people will roll in as the draft winds on. YouTubers, what's going on? Twitch, what's up? We've got a great show tonight. Can't wait to get started.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports NFL Draft Live 2020 Day 2. I'm Austin Stanley alongside Zach Bingham and Buck Rising. Make sure you follow us all across those platforms that Zach just told you. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, anywhere you got it. Instagram, A to Z Sports, Nashville's on-demand sports talk network as we are going live for the NFL Draft tonight. Got to thank a few sponsors before we get going. TennesseeTickets.com. That's where you should turn May 9th when the Titans schedule comes out. Go get your Titans single game tickets right there at TennesseeTickets.com and save yourself some money. RentersWarehouse.com. They're the professional landlords in the Nashville area. Many ways that RentersWarehouse.com can help you out in these hard times right now. Also, the Tucker Agency as well, Nashville's independent insurance agency, giving you relief by saving you an average of 20% on your insurance. Personal insurance, that's tuckertn.com. Calvin and Subtle hardwood floors and finishings, calvinandsettle.com. Also, their phone number 615-448-6414. Buck.
Maybe if you need some hardwood flooring, then you are looking for a house with which to put hardwood flooring in. You go to the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, and you can find your dream address without the stress. The website is GaryAshton.com, the official realtor of the Titans, the Preds, Nashville SC, Topgolf, and A to Z Sports Prime Time. Our friends at Tame the Beast, helping make this beastly draft show possible. Promo code AZ50 saves you 50% off on all of their grooming products, like the hard hair clay that I have been able to put back in my hair, and our friends at Brymac Mechanical, BRYMAK, Brymac.com, HVAC needs for your residence or your commercial business. They can customize it and make sure that your satisfaction is guaranteed.
All right.
Oh, speaking of Tame the Beast, the AFC just got another beast. Lamar Jackson got another beast.
Yes.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson just got J.K. Dobbins, running back out of Ohio State. So
Ravens love them some running backs.
The Ravens are – I don't even know what to call the Ravens offense. It's definitely not from this era. But
tell you what it is, football porn.
Basically, because they've got tight ends all over the place. They got a bunch of running backs and speed everywhere. It's basically a track team running in motion and trying to confuse defenses out there with misdirection. So, Buck, that was a pick that just happened before, right as we jumped on J.K. Dobbins to the Baltimore Ravens. But catch us up on the last few picks as we were sitting here awaiting the Miami Dolphins on the clock at 56. Titans will pick at 61 as it currently stands.
So prior to J.K. Dobbins, the Buffalo Bills took the defensive end out of Iowa, A.J. Epinesa, who had fallen considerably given that most people had a first-round grade on him probably what will be the surprise of the draft prior to that, the Philadelphia Eagles with the 21st pick in the second round, taking Jalen Hurts, the quarterback out of Oklahoma, who is a very, very controversial prospect at best. And given what Carson Wentz's injury history looks like, that's a curious situation to follow. Cam Akers to the Los Angeles Rams. Before that, they had their Todd Gurley replacement. And with the 19th pick, the Dallas Cowboys took Trayvon Diggs, the corner out of Alabama. And there are, ironically enough, a corner left remaining on the board that Zach Bingham knows very, very well.
Yes.
Fulton,
Christian
baby.
Fulton. Yeah, Christian Fulton's still available. Zach, you thought Christian Fulton would be the pick for the Tennessee Titans in the first round. There's a really good chance that he will still be on the board because the Miami Dolphins just took Raekwon Davis, defensive tackle from Alabama. So Fulton's slide continues all the way. Maybe the Titans can get him at 61.
Yeah, and it's a great value pick. Look, Fulton, one of the reasons why I picked him is because look, I listened to some interviews from him. I think he's an intelligent guy. I think he fits the Titan system. But really, as a cornerback, he can make open field tackles. I felt like that was one of his better attributes. Look, I'm not going to sit here and try to beat Jaws and turn on the film, but the highlights that I did watch in the LSU games, because I did watch quite a bit of LSU games this year in the SEC, open field tackles, you're going to have to replace Logan Ryan because Logan Ryan has pretty much been stubborn and said, I deserve $10 million. And every other team has said, no, you don't. So I do think that if they can get Christian Fulton at 61 in round 2 without having to do anything, that's a massive win.
Yeah,
without question. Listen, this is their express need. We got off the conference call with John Robinson and Mike Vrabel last night, and basically the only position that was really discussed outside of backup running back was corner. The edge situation has really gone by the wayside, and we can talk about what that means the further and further they get away from edge, what that might mean for their free agency prospects with the guy who's still available out there. The idea that this corner, who there are some things that need to be refined, but for the most part, he got savaged in the national championship game against Clemson. They went right at him, and they really avoided Stingley on the other side, who is the true freshman corner for LSU. But with best player available, I have to think Christian Fulton, unless there's something going on with his Wi-Fi connection and he can't get the 5G got him. I don't know. This guy should not still be on the board.
It is weird because I've pulled up ESPN.com's top remaining. Christian Fulton is not even in the top 20 remaining prospects on their board, but they have him the 80th overall prospect and the 10th corner. Saying he's average size. He's 6 foot, just under 200 pounds. He's an average length at best, and he does have good top end speed, but he's not necessarily a playmaker. He doesn't have a lot of interceptions in his college career, and as Buck, you mentioned recency bias, and just seeing him basically get slaughtered in the national title game.
I mean, they took it to him. Like, there's no question they made Christian Fulton's draft stock fall in that game.
Sure. So let's do this. Let's ask you guys a question because there's still a few picks remaining before the Titans are on the clock. What position do you think the Titans need to go? Because Chad says no wide receivers. Is it cornerback? Is there somebody else besides cornerback, another position besides corner you think the Titans should move to? But first, let me quickly tell you about TennesseeTickets.com, the title sponsor of A to Z Sports. May 9th, that's when the NFL schedule will be released, and that's when you can go buy Titans single game tickets at TennesseeTickets.com. You're going to save money by going to Tennessee Tickets and not going to those other websites. They have the best Titans ticket inventory in the state of Tennessee. They're local guys. They're real people you can trust. TennesseeTickets.com is where to go here live on the second day of the NFL draft, asking you guys, and Zach, I'll let you go to the comment section, asking you guys what position you think the Titans should go with at 61 overall.
Yeah, I got a lot of comments rolling in from a lot of different places. On Periscope, Titans 86 says cornerback. J Finn 2000 says wide receiver, defensive back. Layla's going with cornerback as well. Kevin Corner, Lord Dragul Smitty from YouTube. Shout out Lord Dragul right there in the YouTube world. He says tight end. He's not sold on Jonnu Smith. They signed Ferkster and Michael Pruitt, so I don't think they're going to go tight end. Corner from Steph Dobbs. Jeff Roberts says cornerback. Johnny Lee says cornerback. Defensive tackle from Michael Lippman. No wide receiver, please. Coming in from the comment section. Dusto Bunt says third quarterback. Let's go. Look, and this is Zach Moss is still out there, running back. Do you even think about a skilled position on offense? You've already done offensive line, or do you think, let's kind of split this up. Do you think this is really all defense? This is a defensive pick.
I think it kind of needs to be a defensive pick because there's so many running backs on the board still. Well, not really. Running backs have actually had a pretty good run here, but I do think the top running backs have all gone. Now there's a gap between the next group of running backs. Wide receivers still available. Denzel Mims. Everybody's got to be kind of surprised that Denzel Mims is still available because I thought the Packers were trading up to go get him at 26 instead of Jordan Love last night. Buck, how do you feel about that?
To get Denzel Mims would be the only offensive skill position player that I would accept. It's far too early for running back. Yeah. If the pick is not going to be defense, Denzel Mims out of Baylor is, I think, one of the most athletic wide receivers that was in this class, and it's a class that is loaded with guys. He's got straight line speed. His route tree isn't as defined, but you have to think that you trust the Titans wide receiver coach. Oh my God, I'm just blanking on his name. I was just getting ready to decide it was going to be perfect, and now I forgot.
Rob
Moore. What?
Rob Moore.
Rob Moore has helped A.J. Brown and Corey Davis and Tajay Sharp refine their craft as skill position players. And I think that if he's available, it would be hard to pass up. But the need at corner, man, you might have to take two over the next 2 days. Like, you really, really may have to bolster the depth in that room. And I can't justify an offensive player here.
Well, and an offensive player just went off the board, and it was a wide receiver, and it wasn't Denzel Mims. It was a guy, Van Jefferson, Ravenwood High School, right down the street. A guy who, Zach, me and you, we watched a lot.
Yeah, that's who I preferred the Titans get if they were going to go wide receiver. I love the Rams just get him.
The Rams just got Van Jefferson, which honestly, guys, that's perfect. That's a great fit for Van Jefferson to go behind Jerry Jeudy. Van Jefferson, top of the route running wide receivers in this draft. From Ravenwood here in Brentwood, Tennessee. That's where he went to high school. His dad, Sean Jefferson, was a Titans wide receiver coach for a couple of years. They moved down from the Detroit area when Coach Jefferson was previously with the Detroit Lions. So Van Jefferson knew how to play the wide receiver position at a high level, like the intricacies and the nuance. As a junior in high school is when I started covering him, and he went to Ole Miss. Zach watched him for a couple of years at Ole Miss. Then he transfers to Florida, and a really good player. No surprise that he's off the board in the second round. Van Jefferson to the LA Rams. Great pick there.
Yeah, I really like that pick, and unfortunate for Titans fans if they were even thinking wide receiver in the second round. I don't think that they are. Look, I think cornerback, I think defense is the pick. I think what you find in the second round, and this is usual in the NFL draft, we saw this tonight. The top of the second round, it goes a lot quicker, not only because of the time change, but because teams know exactly who they want. They've had a night to sleep on it. They've had all day to say, if this guy's here, this is who we want. That's where all the skilled positions started going. Running backs started getting off the board. The better wide receivers in the second half that aren't first rounders, they started coming off the board. You saw a couple, like Gross Matos came off the board very early, who is a projected first round pick. So those positions, the running backs, the wide receivers, the pass rushers, even the corners come off the board. I am surprised that Fulton's still there. I would be even more surprised if he's there when they pick at 61. This is falling to him. A lot of people like Eric on Facebook throwing out the Jake Fromm questions. Jalen Hurts went a lot higher than we thought.
Shocked.
Let's be honest.
Everybody completely shocked. I look at the quarterback situation is not something that you address if you're the Tennessee Titans. Like, I think they're kind of riding with Logan Woodside. That's about as good given your need.
You're going to break down in the middle of the road if you're riding on Logan.
Is a day three guy going to be any better?
No,
any more helpful to you than Logan Woodside? No. So the situation Here is where we find out what John Robinson really wants to do, because this would be the opportunity to trade. You have Baltimore sitting at 60 with needs at defensive back. You have Baltimore, who's already gotten their running back. They need to help defense. Jimmy Smith is getting older. There are players still available. In fact, if they got Xavier McKinney, that would be a complete and utter nightmare for the rest of the AFC. But Baltimore, the idea that they would be able to get up in front of them and take Fulton, because that's the way. If they don't go Vaughn, I think they go Fulton, and that's bad news for the Titans.
Well, and I like Zach Vaughn a lot, but does drafting Zach Vaughn, would that tell you something about Jadeveon Clowney or not? I think Zach Vaughn's a really good football player, and he kind of reminds me of a guy that I think would thrive in either New England or with Mike Vrabel. Zach Vaughn can play inside, he can play outside, he can play on the line of scrimmage as a pass rusher. He was really good. He was one of the highest rated outside linebackers in coverage in all of college football, according to Pro Football Focus. I think Zach Vaughn would be a really good pick. Something I'm kind of getting freaked out about Kristian Fulton, about this guy dropping real quick. Real quick before I get more into that and let Zach jump in here. Ezra Cleveland just went to the Minnesota Vikings, the tackle out of Boise State. So the Jets are on the clock, then Baltimore, like Buck was talking about. So if the Titans want to get ahead of Baltimore, they got to do it like in the next few minutes.
Do you think that and this is a question maybe for John Robinson, like we saw what the Colts did.
We saw plenty of questions for John Robinson tonight.
Well, you saw what the Colts did. You saw earlier Laramie Tunsil signs that massive contract. Like the AFC South, and really you got to look at the AFC, right? You got to look at what the Ravens just did with Dobbins and bolstering that offense and what they're able to do, because those are the teams you're really competing against if you're going to make it to the Super Bowl.
Well,
right? Those are the teams that are winning now.
Well, let's just look inside the division. The Titans haven't won the division since when? 2008? And during today's first round of this draft, the second round today, you saw the Colts go Michael Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor. Then you saw the Jags go with Chenault, wide receiver out of Colorado. Ross Blacklock went to the Texans, but a lot of offensive players who can make plays and score touchdowns, and the Titans are still their thinnest position. Most thin position is at cornerback. I think they have to address cornerback right here, but something tells me that Kristian Fulton, I don't know if that could be a pick.
Something.
Yeah, it's right. The guy's dropping really far, and there's something about it. Like Bryce Hall or Cam Dantzler or Meek Robertson, I would feel more comfortable with those guys than I would Kristian Fulton at this point.
Without understanding what's causing this guy to fall, because what we were hearing before the draft actually began is that mock drafts and analysts were way off this year, right? From unnamed executives. They were saying that the media has no idea what's going on this year, and then the first 12 picks go chalk, and it's like, the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
But this is the situation with Fulton. There is a piece that is clearly missing here, because this was consensus by people who watch the film, by people who study college football closely, from the prospects through the combine. This is a caliber that was borderline first round, high second round pick at corner in a year where there's pretty good corner depth. We are missing a piece of the puzzle here, and whether or not certainly the Titans have more intel on this particular situation than we do. But if you're looking at Terrell Lewis and Amik Robertson, like you're talking about, the idea that they're still able to have a really, really good player at 61, it's kind of like the A.J. Brown situation. Like they can't totally lose. Don't let corner go too long. And it looks like the Jets are taking Denzel Mims, as being reported by Connor Hughes right now. So you got a shot at this thing. And I think we find out whether they trade. If they're going to trade up, now would be the time.
Well, I think you bring up the A.J. Brown thing last year, and we sat there and we watched the board, and we were live in Nashville because that's where the draft was at. And I was surprised that he dropped that far, right? Because that wide receiver, this draft, it's kind of funny how different the wide receiver is going in this draft compared to the last year's draft, right?
Denzel Mims was the 14th wide receiver drafted.
What? DK Metcalf couldn't even get drafted in the second round, barely.
14 picks, 14 wide receivers in the first 59 picks of this draft.
So, and are you concerned if you're the Titans again? Because look, the wide receiver, we dangled that out because of the Corey Davis fifth-year option. We talked a lot about that this week. Do you kind of say, well, dang it, everybody's already off the board, and this is wide
where
receiver deep draft is not so deep anymore.
Well, it's very deep, but this is where there's a gap. So I think Denzel Mims could have been taken the first round, and nobody would have had a problem with it. But now there's a lot of those middle guys, like the second, third round guys that have already gone because there's been so many picks, starting with T. Higgins, then Michael Pittman Jr., Chenault, and so forth. And so now after Mims, it drops down to Devin Duvernay, KJ Hill at Ohio State, Brian Edwards from South Carolina, a couple guys that are more like
Antonio Gibson, who's different, right? He's one of these positionless players where they can't figure out whether he's a wide receiver or a running back. This is where the lines begin to get blurred.
Yeah, and this is where the wide receivers take a step back, I think, and maybe there's a run on another position. But I'm looking at the big board still available on ESPN.com right now. Two names that were ties with the Titans also in mock draft season. Zach Bond is number one on this list, and they're not getting Josh Jones out of Houston. But interesting that Josh Jones, the tackle from Houston, is still sitting available. He's been sitting for a long time too.
It seems that there's consensus, really. I'm tracking things on social media. I'm looking at texts that I'm receiving. People don't understand what's going on with Christian Fulton. And I don't think, it can't be that he cheated a drug test in college. Like, this is not something, especially with the new CBA, this is not something that's going to be held against these guys like it has been in years past. And even then, it was silly. He had the 1 year suspension. He had the 2 season-ending injuries. There are reasons to be, I guess, to overthink it, but really, I don't understand.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah,
I think they think you're going to get into a situation where it's got to be the pick. That's the position of need, right? And if they had to have been thinking about a possible first-round selection, Christian Fulton had to have been on their board. Now you have the opportunity to take him in the second round, position of need. It's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
That's how I don't know what it's going through John Robinson's mind, but that makes more sense to me. I'm curious. Obviously, Baltimore has the pick right ahead of them at 60. They don't, and I want to sum this up. We talked to John Robinson last night, and he said a trade fizzled out at the last second, right? He's not really.
They lost their leverage when Love got drafted.
Right. They lost all their leverage, and then they kind of lost their leverage because they're so far down in the second round, right? Nobody wants to drop that far back. They're going to have to stick and pick, right?
I don't know. I'm seeing Jay Finn and Keysbro both saying trade back, get out.
Rappaport's reporting that the Patriots just traded up ahead of the Ravens. I bet that's what they're doing.
Well, yeah, this is Zach Bond, right? Does this not have Zach Bond written all over it?
Didn't they just take a Zach Bond last year with the Michigan dude that looks like
Chase Vinovich?
Yeah.
But you need I want as many of those guys on my team as possible because they don't stop moving. And so I think this is exactly what, because
Belichick jumping variable.
Bill Belichick and his good boy puppy up there making the picks know exactly what Mike Vrabel likes in a pass rusher and a defensive player, and it is Zach Bond. Good boy, Bark Belichick up there making this move. So the Patriots, the pick is in for the New England Patriots. It has not been announced yet, or could this be a quarterback? I highly doubt it's a quarterback for the Patriots trading up like this, but it feels like Bill Belichick's trying to get one on John Robinson and Mike Vrabel real quick here. Josh Uche is a name that a lot of people have been saying too, who's a linebacker out of Michigan.
This is the best part about the draft, right? You think you're going to get something, and then all of a sudden, bam, Bill Belichick comes in there and swoops it.
Wow. Well, this is the only real drama that we still have, right? Is the maneuvering of the drafts, because we can't really get the drama that we all crave with the green room and the interaction of picks and who are falling. I mean, we still get the idea of it, but still,
I feel disconnected.
Belichick's not even in front of his computer. It's just an empty room. He doesn't want to be on camera.
He's probably taking the dog out.
Good boy, Bark. Good boy.
Yeah. bark twice for Zach Vaughn, bark 3 times for Josh Uche. Oh, man. So
it's incredible. The level of I aspire to be the level of troll of Bill Belichick. This man is genius.
I was arguing with Buck before, Zach. You hopped on here earlier this afternoon.
Well, quickly, I'm sorry, Austin, but Zach
Uche.
Yeah, Josh Uche is the pick.
Yeah, and it's about Roger Goodell and his sweater vester is about to announce it right now. That Josh Uche, the pick for the New England Patriots at 60 overall. The Titans are on the clock. Now, what happens? I mean, is this Zach Vaughn? Is it Christian Fulton?
I think this is Christian Fulton. Look, I'm sticking with my pick. I think it makes the most sense. If they pick it, I will applaud. Christian Fulton addresses a team need that you have. You have a Dory Jackson that you're going to have to decide on a 5th-year option here in the next couple of weeks. You've got Malcolm Butler, which you are just backing up a Brinks truck to and paying him bukus of money from that contract a couple of years ago. Logan Ryan has not been re-signed. I know you just got Ty Smith, but you need a corner for the future in a passing league, in a passing division with Deshaun Watson. You now have Phillip Rivers with a bunch of weapons and AFC that you got to combat with Baltimore and Kansas City. Denver's gotten a hell of a lot better. The Raiders, they've gotten better. This is a Christian Fulton pick, in my opinion. I would be surprised if they didn't go there.
A to Z Sports here live on the NFL Draft Live. The Titans on the clock. Real quick before the Titans pick is announced. Well, the pick is in, so we'll hold tight and see what it is. All right, let's get final predictions because the pick is in according to the television. The pick is in. Who do you think the pick is, Buck? I'll let you start first before we get to some comments.
I mean, Fulton would be my top corner available just based on the guys that I've watched. But again, we're missing something here. So my inclination would be, if everything was normal, Christian Fulton.
Zach, you're Christian Fulton as well?
I'm Fulton all the way. That's my original pick. I cannot stray. You dance with the person who brought you.
Kind of feeling Amik Robertson right now. I think corner could be the pick. I'm going with my guy, Amik Robertson out of Louisiana Tech, because something's freaking me out.
It is weird.
I just saw this. The Packers are on the clock at number 62. So the pick has been made. I have not seen it scroll through my timeline yet, but the pick has been made, and now the Packers are on the clock at 62 overall. So, and of course, you're right.
It
goes to commercial. That always happens, right? It always happens like that when we're sitting here ready for this big pick, they go to commercial, and now we got to stay away.
Well, I would agree, and whoever it is, I think it has to be Fulton, because not just for the purposes of corner, but for special teams. They need people who can contribute in that way. Fulton fills both of those roles. Honestly, that's almost as important.
I've seen it one place, but it didn't come out and report it. That's my gut, first of all, but I have not seen it confirmed by anybody.
I have not seen it. I have not seen anything.
No, they're playing it close to the vest, man. They're not telling anybody.
Where's Diana Orsini?
It is official. Titans take LSU's Christian Fulton off the board, baby. Yeah. Woo! I get one. I got one. I'm that old man reeling in that dollar. Woo!
Oh, I'd give you my crown, but I can't pass it without gloves and Lysol.
All right, so A to Z Sports NFL Draft Live. The Titans officially taking Christian Fulton, cornerback from LSU. Zach, that means that A to Z Sports has predicted both of John Robinson's first 2 picks correctly, as our streak continues and the percentage just gets stronger, as Buck correctly predicted Isaiah Wilson last night, and now Zach has Christian Fulton he on his list of 5 guys, and so you guys, props, Zach. I will now let you gloat.
Well, when you know. Well, look, this wasn't – I think the biggest surprise where I got it wrong was this happened in the second round, not the first round. But this makes so much sense. And you know what? John Robinson's got to be happy as a clam, because a guy just fell in his lap. He didn't have to move. Look, New England jumped him. He gave up some picks to get their guy. and Christian Fulton was there with the 61st overall pick. This is a win for the Tennessee Titans. It addresses something, and Buck, I'm glad you mentioned the special teams facet of it. That's what they make their guys play a lot of different places. I think this solidifies a little bit more of their secondary. They are strong at safety with Kevin Byard and Kenny Vaccaro. Malcolm Butler will come back from his wrist injury. If Adoree Jackson plays like he did at times this past year, this is a good core group on the outside. Defensively, if Clowney is added, you have to love this from John Robinson. If he was even thinking about going Christian Fulton in the first round and you get your guy in the second round, that's perfect. So I love this pick. I endorse this pick. Good job.
Well, and listen, we find out more about how they feel about their edge rusher needs or lack thereof. They are going to let this thing play out. And listen, it still matters for them to I still think they need to take another corner at some point. If in the 7th round, I think they still need a little bit of depth there, and I still think there's maneuvering to be done. But not only is this drafting for need, this is best player available. It's the best of both worlds. And again, I've been saying this since the draft started. All of this whole event and the prospects that were available to them, everything is lining up really, really well for this to be the most complete Titans roster that they've had in the John Robinson era. I think they're really, really close to being, I mean, if they get Clowney, they should have the 3rd best Super Bowl odds after Kansas City and Baltimore.
In the AFC, right?
In the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, look, because who's going to win the AFC East? I don't know that. I mean, Denver's improving a lot, but still so much to learn about Drew Lock. And by the way, the pick is about to be announced in Mike Vrabel's basement. Solo. Mike Vrabel writing solo tonight after the Frozone in Poopgate there last night, as that was taking the internet by storm. But Christian Fulton has officially been announced the pick on television, cornerback out of LSU. I'll say this, guys, because Zach, you were talking about how Christian Fulton has just dropped and fallen right in the lap of John Robinson in the 2nd round. This is a trend now, right? I think 3 years in a row counts as an official trend. Last year, A.J. Brown, 1st round talent, drops, 51 overall in the 2nd round. The year before that, Harold Landry, 1st round talent, drops, 41 overall. And this time, Christian Fulton mocked in the 1st round all draft season long, drops to 61 overall. So the Titans and John Robinson getting some talented names and some good players as they drop in the 2nd round and take advantage of that. So Christian Fulton officially a Tennessee Titan.
I love it. I mean, again, it's the same kind. It's almost the same kind of analysis for a guy like Isaiah Wilson. Like, there needs to be more patience in the way that he plays. He needs to learn how to play more within control. And anybody would make the argument. Now, maybe you say Dean Pease and Kerry Coombs being off of the Titans defensive staff will legitimately make a difference. But if anybody is going to teach players to play within their skill set, how to do their job specifically and not overthink things, I think it's this Titans coaching staff. And I think that he's going to not only a good fit, but a team that needs him and a team that can use him creatively. He's got a lot of really great traits, and he's a great athlete. This is probably, he's projecting as an average level NFL starter, nothing special, but really, I don't think you need over the top special. I think you just need a competent starting corner.
Well, and I think that could be it. I mean, you talk about athletic, 4'4", 640, a long broad jump at 123 inches, which 10'3" for all you math guys out there, and then 35.5-inch vert. His 3-cone drill, which shows you the ability for him to move and dip and be able to bend around, and maybe could show some blitzing potential. His 3-cone drill under 7 seconds, which is always a good marker to have from a DB out there, and he has good size. Because the cornerbacks for the Titans, if you look at it, Adoree Jackson, thin. Malcolm Butler, short, kind of muscled up, but short. Logan Ryan was not physically imposing. But Christian Fulton at 6 foot, 200 pounds, he's one of the bigger guys at that position, along with Ty Smith, who is a pure depth guy. Yeah,
I think, again, you need those pure depth guys because you got quality snaps from Ty Smith last year. And what he represents is the kind of versatility that they're looking for. It's raw talent. but you can have the ability to play him on the outside. He can adjust to formations and he can bump inside and play nickel. It really suits all of their needs. And now the Packers are taking your boy, the sauce, Zach Bingham. He is off the board. The big running back out of Boston College, A.J. Dillon, is heading to the Green Bay Packers. Not exactly man. I would be so pissed if I was Aaron Rodgers. They have good running backs in Green Bay. This doesn't make sense to me.
They do. That's weird. Green Bay's got Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. Aaron Jones really had a breakout year. Jamal Williams, they like a lot.
What the hell are the Packers doing?
I don't know. They're pissing off all the players.
Aaron Rodgers needs to demand a trade. Maybe this is the philosophy.
That's the Patriots' plan.
maybe this is all a part of the Patriots' plan where they get Aaron Rodgers for the latter half of his career and they win a couple of Super Bowls because they haven't drafted a quarterback, which I don't understand. The Packers are taking guys that I don't understand. This is very weird. The Philadelphia Eagles, I don't think that was that weird. Now, they took Jalen Hurts a little bit higher. We haven't had a chance to talk as much about that, but they have a guy who's injury prone. Look what happened to the Titans. They had a guy who was injury prone, Marcus Mariota, and his poor play, exited his job. But still, you got to have a backup plan. And that was the Eagles' philosophy. You don't have to have 3 running backs behind Aaron Rodgers. You need guys that he can throw to besides an aging Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham's not even there anymore. And Rob stole my joke. Texans, terrible moves. Green Bay says, hold my beer. That's exactly what this feels like. It feels like Bill O'Brien and the Packers brass are having a race of who could be more incompetent, because something we haven't talked about yet or mentioned is that Laremy Tunsil got $22 million a year to be the left tackle of the Houston Texans. It's a 3-year deal for $66 million, and $57 million were fully guaranteed for Laremy Tunsil. That's just absurd, the amount of money that they gave Laremy Tunsil.
I mean, it's completely out of control. It's $4 million more than the next highest paid tackle. Bill O'Brien doesn't understand how to do these contracts, how to structure a trade, how to play GM. And Austin, I know you saw the GIF, and I don't remember who tweeted out what people think a Houston Texans staff meeting looks like, or Zoom meeting looks like.
Zoom meeting. This is Bill O'Brien.
Of Bill O'Brien and his bald head and his butt chin, picking players and signing players that he really doesn't understand the true value for. I mean, to overcompensate is one thing when you've got a quarterback who had to travel by bus for a period of time because you got him so hurt by an offensive line. Maybe you're scared and you're like, I got the tackle, just pay the guy. Throw all the money at him, be done with it. And Bill O'Brien just has no earthly idea what he's doing. And again, we show, but I don't know who I'm more mad at, if I'm a Texans fan or if I'm a damn Packers fan. I'm pissed.
Mark Hankins brings up, he says, credit to Tunsil too. He represented himself. Like, Laremy Tunsil doesn't even have an agent. Like, Bill O'Brien got fleeced by a bong-ripping dude out of Ole Miss, and we know that education is not that hot, Zach, that Laremy Tunsil can represent his own.
Speak for yourself, ball boy. What are you talking about? You know what? Laremy Tunsil probably had his stepdad represent him in his yellow convertible that he got from Hugh Freeze.
Why, did he leak stuff on the Texans brass the same way that he leaked stuff on Tunsil on draft night?
Probably. He's got Bill O'Brien doing weird things with his butt chin or something. I don't know. But Laremy Tunsil got his own deal, $66 million for 3 years and $57 million guaranteed, which is just absurd. Let's go back to Christian Fulton because we want to ask you guys to grade this pick. So let's grade it. This morning on our show, Zach, we graded the Isaiah Wilson pick. So let's get your opinion and get you guys more involved. Give us a grade, a letter grade. Pluses and minuses are encouraged. How do you grade the Christian Fulton draft pick? But first, Buck Rising, you already know Christian Fulton needs somewhere to live when he moves to Nashville.
Come on home, big boy. The Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage has got you covered. The official realtor of the Tennessee Titans, going to be finding all of their new rookies homes and places to stay in the Middle Tennessee area because they're the best in the business. They're the official realtor of all of your favorite sports teams and your favorite weeknight sports show on A to Z Sports Prime Time. GaryAshton.com is the website. If you want to go check out a lot of their listings, availabilities, they're doing virtual tours because they're trying to keep everybody safe during the Rona. They are going to make sure that you get the best deal, that you don't get taken advantage of by people coming in from out of town and trying to poach the Nashville real estate market. The website is GaryAshton.com, the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage.
All right, A to Z Sports, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast feed, A to Z Sports, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, the 615 Sessions podcast with Buck Rising, as we will have content galore over the weekend about all of the draft stuff. Tighten Up podcast, we'll have an episode as well with Jack Gentry and Austin Huff. So subscribe to your wherever you get your podcast, A to Z Sports, and the 615 Sessions here, asking you to grade the selection of LSU corner Christian Fulton to the Titans at 61. Zach, I'll send you to the comment section.
Yeah, we got a lot of B pluses and Bs, but also I've got some A minuses. Eric Gar says A minus. Nick LeClaire goes with B plus. Our man Jack Gentry goes A plus. He loves the pick. Two-Tone Blue Blood says A. Steven says, according to the mocks, it's a steal, so he's going to give it an A. Adam says an F. But I think he's talking about he mistyped right there. Solid B plus, maybe an A from Christian Slaughter. Eddie says A minus. Let's see. Eric Kraft goes B plus. Ronnie Sneed goes A. Bobby and Marcus both go A minus. Brad Benson said A. James, holla at your boy from YouTube. He's going C plus, so he's not completely sold on it.
Holla at your boy.
Well, yeah, from YouTube, baby. We're streaming all over the place. We want more people to watch and digest A to Z Sports on YouTube and Twitch. We're brand new, baby. During the week, in the mornings, we got IG Live too. Eric Hall goes B plus. Jonathan Tillman with an A. Buck, where are you at on this? You picked correctly Isaiah Wilson at the beginning of the draft in general. You got that pick right. Fulton, who we talked about because we were having a conversation before we made our media mock draft pick and selection. He falls to John Robinson at 61, doesn't have to move up to get him. How do you grade this guy?
I mean, you have to give it an A. It fits the needs that you required. They didn't have to do any kind of special gymnastics to get him. It's just the way that the board broke. We knew that they had an interest in this corner class and that they felt that there was quality, not just today on day 2 in the second and third rounds, but on day 3 as well. But this was, again, best player available and also drafting for need. When those situations align, and almost never do they actually happen, all you have to do is not overthink it. And so for not overthinking it, and again, I think this whole virtual process, I think it helps streamline the drafting, and I think it helps the general managers. I think John Robinson's going to be better when he recognizes that this is the player that they want, that these are the needs that they've identified, and that he can just go out and make the pick. I really, really love this.
So I'm trying to figure out, I want to know why he falls. Why did he fall to 61? Something's there, right? Because and that's just kind of giving me pause. And I like Christian Fulton. Here's the thing.
Again, I really do think I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go for it. Because I want to. If you have an answer or a thought or a theory of why he fell, I'd love to hear it. Seriously.
I have an answer, but go ahead, Buck.
Okay, you guys, Buck, go first, then Zach, and then I'll continue.
Okay, so it was my understanding that at Indianapolis he was not the best of interviews. It was a thoroughly average interview process for Christian Fulton at the Combine. And so that, coupled with the idea that the last time that any of us have seen him play football was, as we talked about earlier in the show, in the national championship game when Clemson was intentionally targeting him with great success, avoiding Derek Stingley on the other side. I think that the recency bias, if they're grading the tape, and this is supposed to be the most tape-heavy draft, right, because of the way that the virtual setup is, I think, again, it's about not overthinking it. And I think plenty of people have overthought this pick because of the last thing that they saw on tape and the last interaction that a lot of them had with them before Corona shut down NFL facilities for prospect visits was at the Combine when he was nothing special.
Well, and then people have brought up that he used someone else's urine to cheat on a drug test. And
that did happen.
So he had suspension, and that maybe could fit in with the interview. Maybe he did not appropriately answered the question about that to many teams' liking. But Zach, what's your theory on why he fell to 61?
Well, Buck went with the emotional standpoint, which I respect, and that makes sense with what he said. I'm going to go with the board because that's what you are trying to figure out, right? So at the end of the first round, let's just look at the cornerbacks. Igbenogany went at 30, and Jeff Gladney went at 31, right? So at the end, that's back-to-back cornerbacks at the end of the first round. Then there was a little bit of a gap until you got back-to-back cornerbacks with the Bears and the Cowboys, with Jalen Johnson out of Utah to Chicago and Trayvon Diggs to Alabama that the Cowboys got. Those are the only cornerbacks until Christian Fulton. So that he really only jumped or fell behind two guys. Now, those two guys being Jalen Johnson and Trayvon Diggs. The other needs of the other teams tell me the reason why he fell. The wide receiver position and the running backs. No running back was taken in the first round. They were all taken in the first half of the second round. That shifts the cornerback and other positions
I get
down.
you.
That's the reason. That's my reasoning.
14 wide receivers will push a lot of people down the board. You're right. But A.J. Terrell from Clemson, as several people have brought up on the comments, that guy got roasted too in the national title game, and he went really high. He went top half of the first round. And you could say that the Falcons got stuck there and they kind of had to reach on a corner because I don't know why they didn't go chase on there. But A.J. Terrell got roasted. Then you had Damon Arnett go ahead of Christian Fulton. So even though you mentioned Noah Igbenogany, there's the other guys, Jalen Johnson, Gladney, those that you mentioned. But it seemed like a couple of the guys in the first round at cornerback were not expected to be ahead of Fulton in the first place, and they went too.
Maybe the teams liked him, right? We talked about the Packers just falling in love with Jordan Love. Sometimes that happens with GMs. They just love a guy, and they take him. I'll give you an example. A few years back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he fell in love with a guy named Ali Marpet. You'll probably get to know him because you'll be watching a ton of Buccaneers games this year.
I know Ali Marpet because I've been sitting next to you for 4 or 5
right? And you know what? He was a reach. It got him in the higher rounds, like second or third round, but he just fell in love with the guy. And sometimes that happens. And I think that happened quite a bit in the first round with selective teams. And I think the Titans are reaping the benefit of it. As Buck mentioned, they got the position of need that they like. The tackle, we talked about that yesterday at length. Isaiah Wilson may not start. He may, we don't know, but it was not a position that they had to have. They need a cornerback because Logan Ryan's not going to get re-signed.
Well, I'll say this. I think
I can point this out quickly, Austin, just because it piggybacks off Zach's point. If you notice how few tackles went after Isaiah Wilson, there was not another tackle taken until the Jets very late on this round. So almost when they weren't able to get out of 29, they had to make a decision on just how important offensive line depth was, and then it forced them to make that pick.
And the board told them that. You're right. Now, they didn't know the board, but it fell that way.
They predicted it. It's like when John Robinson predicted the wide receiver run by taking Corey Davis at 5. That's the same thing that Buck talked about last night. Isaiah Wilson got Corey Davis because – that started the run on wide receivers, and maybe that changed how the board fell for offensive linemen. Here's where I was going to go. If the Titans took Fulton in the first round and Isaiah Wilson in the second round, nobody would have any issues with this. Then everybody's like, perfect, right? If you take the cornerback at 29 overall and Christian Fulton
honestly,
Isaiah Wilson at 61, you're like, hell yeah, sign me up, J-Rob A+.
But see, this is the difference between what they understand about their needs and what the majority understand about their needs, right?
And the value of position that goes in the draft. Big guys go early when they're that athletic and talented.
And the conversation surrounding those – Go ahead, Zach. I'm sorry.
Do you really think that Wilson would have been there at 61 just with his pure size? That's a dream. That's
the same reasons that I've just talked about because of how the tackle drop off. Once you got past 35, I mean, it's a wasteland, really, in terms of the talent disparity. So they made the correct decisions. It just turned out to be not in the order that everybody anticipated them making. And again, John Robinson is having conversations with all his colleagues, so he understands what exactly the quarterback market looks like out there when he makes that decision to take Isaiah Wilson in the first round and kind of let it ride to 61. So far, so good.
Yeah, all right. I got a text from a film evaluator who has worked in college football at a high level as a film evaluator for a lot of big time programs. Here, this is about Christian Fulton. I like it a lot. Decent size, 4.4 speed, explosive broad jump, which equates to good burst and physicality for a DB. Was suspended for PEDs in the NCAA. For cannabis, not a big deal anymore. So some viewed that as a red flag, but he's a good pick that late in the second round. Plus, I usually like DBs from LSU. So that's a college football film evaluator who's been doing it for a long time on Christian Fulton and the Titans value that they got at 61 overall.
I just saw this from Terrell, our board TD. He tweeted out a previous episode of his podcast, but talked about Christian Fulton telling the Titans that he is also willing to play nickel if asked to do so. That's a coach and a general manager's dream to hear, right? Because that's really what they did a lot with different guys last year. I just think that's a plus. That's a bonus.
Are we seeing the Washington pick who just went off the board? I think a lot higher than people expected. Antonio Gibson, the wide receiver / running back out of Memphis. That would have been my next pick. That would have been my third round pick for the Tennessee Titans. That guy is exactly what they needed. And Washington is getting a really, really good player. I'm honestly surprised he went that high.
Yeah, I mean, because what do you do with him? Because he only ran the ball like 77 times at Memphis or something weird like that. Like, what do you do with Gibson? He had a weird
everything with Gibson,
right? But he doesn't have a lot of like production on what he really is good at and like how best to use him. And we know people in the NFL are like, what, it's the whole Mike Vrabel answered this when he was talking when you Buck asked him about positionless players. He says, whose room is he in? Is he going in the linebacker room? Does he go in the safety room? With Antonio Gibson, is he going to be with the running backs or going to get with the wide receivers? It's something that they have to figure out with that guy.
So talent evaluators had pretty well had him in the category of primarily running back. There were very, very few teams who were looking at him as a true wide receiver, as in to place him in those rooms. You're right. Both John and Mike spoke to this a couple days ago when we talked to them in our pre-draft press conference, to the idea that positionless football means less, certainly on offense, because there needs to be designated coaching in order to make sure that they understand their assignments. I think that he gives you the flexibility to kind of refine his skills as a running back. And now, obviously, it doesn't matter because he's going to Washington. But I would think that there would be very, very creative ways to use him. Ron Rivera is somebody who is familiar with unconventional running backs. I think McCaffrey fits that mold. I'm not saying that that's a comparison for Antonio Gibson, but that's kind of the skill set that they're looking for. Somebody who is more offensive weapon than he is true running back or wide receiver.
Keysbro on Periscope brought somebody else, Percy Harvin. Percy Harvin was a very similar player and Percy Harvin's career didn't work out the way they did because of
trying to get back into it.
Yeah, which is crazy. But
did you know
there are those guys?
That's crazy to me.
He's what?
Concussion.
31 though? I thought Percy Harvin was closer to like 30, 36, 37.
He's just a year older than me. He's a year older than me in college because I had to watch all that against Florida and Tennessee for a couple of years.
What a time to be alive.
So wait, did we give our grades? I know. Look, Buck gave an A. Austin, what did
we got
sidetracked. Yeah, we got make a decision. I keep people accountable. I didn't hear grades.
I'm glad you brought it back up. I thought we had a really good conversation about what we were talking about the whole thing.
You're right, and you can thank me for that great conversation at a later date. Continue with
I'll
your
also blame you for sidetracking the entire show for 15 minutes.
No idea what you're talking about. I don't get to talk to other people on a normal basis. I'm just going wherever I want at this point.
You're just a psychopath who just talks at a camera like Roger Goodell for hours a week. But okay, so
my friends on the internet. That's all I got, baby.
So I feel like A- is the correct thing here because there's still something about him falling. Will he play in the slot? How flexible is he going to be? But I think A- right now is where I'm going to go with Christian Fulton. The Titans getting him at 61 overall. That'll be my grade. So I had C+ for Isaiah Wilson, A- for Christian Fulton.
I give them an A because of where they got him. I mean, there's a lot of people, and obviously I think we've talked through why he is 61. I thought it was a good, valid question by you, Austin. It's like, why the hell everybody had him as a first-round grade, and then all of a sudden he drops to the bottom of the second round. But we've seen there's been plenty of guys that drop and they have successful careers. I think that John Robinson is happy, and I think he's pleasantly surprised that he was able to pick Christian Fulton. I think it's an A pick on my part and an A pick on John Robinson's part.
Well, and like we mentioned earlier, that John Robinson has now gone 3 years in a row with a first-round name. I'll say first-round name falling to him in the second round. When you look at Fulton, A.J. Brown last year, and then Harold Landry the year before. So I'm still not sold on Isaiah Wilson because I just don't know. Like, they tried to trade out, which meant that they told you by admitting that they wanted to trade out and then take Wilson, that they didn't think Wilson at 29 was great value. They wish they could have moved back a few spots and maybe gotten Isaiah Wilson later. So that knocks it down a little bit. And then he's not going to play immediately. He needs some technique help. He needs some refinement to figure out where his hands are going to be. If he gets his hands on you, it's ball game over for that play. But that's only a if he gets his hands on you.
I think we're overreading or we're reaching a little bit when you talk about the idea that they didn't think much of the value of the pick because they tried to trade out. I think it really speaks more to the depth of the class in general at the positions that they needed, that it just made more sense for them to trade out. Now, Josh Jones from Houston, the tackle, he's still on the board. And I think a lot of people expected him to drop, but not like this. So
yeah, I mean, we're in the third round now.
That's a different conversation entirely. But when you look at what they were trying to do at 29, I don't think they would have gone back much further and still probably taken Isaiah Wilson because they felt pretty good about him being there.
Well, and I'll say this, and I said this on our morning show today, that I do think for Isaiah Wilson, as he is not necessarily a year one starter, I do think it's important that you do have fifth-year control on his contract so that you do get extra years out of him, and probably his best years will be year 4, year 5, as he starts to settle in as the right tackle of the Tennessee Titans after Dennis Kelly fills the gap between Conklin and Wilson.
I don't think that gap exists as much as we think it does.
Really?
I don't think so.
Especially with what's happening right now? Like, you think Isaiah Wilson's got a good chance to roll out week 1?
No, I think he's got a better chance to roll out week 4.
So you think he's Nate Davis?
I agree with Buck. I like you said that last night that you don't think that he's going to play or start this year based on – I disagree. I'm with Buck. I think that you draft a guy – it's like Rashaan Evans. You force your way to making that guy play. That's why you drafted him. That's what I think that they're going to do with Isaiah Wilson. And he may surprise them. Like, the whole thing on Wilson is he's not immediately ready, raw. We've heard that. They're going to find out how raw he is at some point because of the coronavirus. Who knows with the training camp and all that stuff.
Sure.
That's going to come into play. So maybe it's not week 4, it's week 6 because of that. But I do think they will force him on the field. That's why you draft the guy. Well, the sooner you get him in there, the sooner he can start learning.
All right, so Moa says that he's not Nate Davis. He's more ready than Nate Davis. Let's remember this, because the Titans have also had a trend that's on the negative side of draft picks getting hurt and missing a ton of time in training camp.
Well,
and that – what?
This year, I mean,
I know
the weight room, for God's sakes. I mean,
right.
This year you're going to see more injuries than any other year.
Well, that's the point, is that Nate Davis got hurt, and the guy ahead of Nate Davis, Jamil Douglas or Kevin Pongfield, like, those guys are not as good at right guard as Dennis Kelly is at right tackle. So I think Isaiah Wilson has a harder challenge to beat out than what Nate Davis had. If Nate Davis did not get hurt, he would have probably started day 1 in Cleveland if he stayed healthy and actually practiced.
If he got in a training camp under his belt, I think they would have felt comfortable with him.
Yeah, and the same thing, like Rashaan Evans. Zach, you brought up Rashaan Evans. You drafted the guy in the first round to go play. He missed a lot of training camp with some crazy, we didn't know what the heck happened, injury, kind of like Nate Davis. And then Corey Davis had the same thing the year before. And Harold Landry was drafted injured. Jeffrey Simmons obviously drafted injured. There's been a lot of rookie injuries going on with the Titans with their first and second round draft picks. And hopefully Isaiah Wilson and Christian Fulton can avoid that in a very weird offseason.
Yeah, they need to, right? This is the window. Before the window, was just opening. They weren't the team that they are now. They don't have the expectations, right? They don't have the experience of playing in the playoffs and winning playoff games, big playoff games. And, this is the best part about the draft, to kind of take a step back, because I do want to talk about, and I think a lot of other people want to talk about, the third round. And I think they're going to get a sexy pick in the third round, right? I think
sex appeal.
I want sex appeal. Right?
What screams sex? What position screams sex more than
running back, wide receiver?
Wide receiver, baby.
Or touchdown score, right?
Touchdown score.
I want Victoria's Secret lingerie. I'm tired of just wrapping up, right? With offensive linemen, and this is the juice. This is why there was just outcry once Isaiah Wilson was taken. It was like, boo, it sucks. Offensive line first round. They want a little glimmer. They want some shine.
Okay, so is Devin Duvernay enough to be a thong, or is he just booty shorts in this particular
I think Devin Duvernay, I don't know what he compares to what you guys are talking about, but I think Devin Duvernay.
Well, that's because you're married.
Devin Duvernay, I think would be what the Titans are looking for. But again, what's happened?
Consider this, right? What are you looking for in a wide receiver in this spot? You're looking for a wide receiver to replace Corey Davis in the eventuality that he's not on the roster in 2021, which things are trending that way. They'll have until May 30th to make the decision on his fifth-year option, and they're not going to pick it up. So if you find value in the third round at wide receiver, he's a big body guy. He's a contested catch guy. He's not a burner down the field. But if he can block and you're comfortable enough with him, and he's unselfish in that way that you've gotten Corey Davis to be, but he can also contribute in the passing game, help in the short and intermediate passing game, I think it makes a lot of sense.
I think Devin Duvernay is basically A.J. Brown minus a couple inches of height and a little bit of explosiveness. Devin Duvernay, I said this earlier in the week.
Completely different player.
No, he's just Devin. He's just A.J. Brown light. I mean, is what I'm saying. But the guy's he's actually faster than
like
AJ
me
Brown.
without a mustache and blonde hair.
Okay,
completely. Right. I get what you're saying, kind of, but I don't get the comp.
You don't get the comp. He's just like a shrunken AJ Brown. I mean, he's slightly smaller than AJ Brown, but he's got the same similar type of build.
No, 5'11", 200 pounds. That's a chunk.
That's thick. That's thick. That was me pre-Mandu, if that's what you want to talk about.
That's thick with 2 C's.
Yes, but he's also fast because he won the 100-meter dash in high school in the state of Texas at the highest classification. So that's not just like fast, like football speed. That's track speed. That's really fast for Devin Duvernay to be able to have that. So I think he would be a good pick. ESPN has him as the 81st overall player. Antonio Gandy Golden is a wide receiver from Liberty. Hugh Freeze, boy, from last year. He's big dude, 6'4", 223. He is the second best receiver available according to ESPN. KJ Hill from Ohio State. Brian Edwards from South Carolina. If they get Brian Edwards, there is a injury flag on Brian Edwards with a foot. He missed a lot of time at South Carolina, but when he played at South Carolina, he did some incredible things, whether it was after the catch, one-handed grabs on the sideline, tiptoe dragging for touchdowns. Brian Edwards is a baller if he can stay healthy.
So let's get into the specifics, though, guys, right? Tajay Sharp exits. He goes to Minnesota. What type of guy do you want? Because we've kind of described a little bit. A.J. Brown, I think, is a freak of nature, always looking upfield, is a game breaker. Corey Davis can do a lot of things. He can pass block. He can catch. He's a good route runner. He's a physical specimen as well.
Run block.
And yeah, he can run block. And then you've got Adam Humphries, who's your prototypical slot guy, shifty, good in space, can turn on a dime. What is that other wide receiver, Buck? And I'll ask you this to start: is what's the makeup do you think the Titans need and want?
Somebody who can play all 3 positions. That's what they had in Tajay. To when an injury happens, you go down, you can still get passing production out of somebody who understands both outside positions and can play the slot. They need somebody who they're comfortable in all three of these starting wide receiver roles, because what Tajay represented to them, and again, a much lesser athlete, not any kind of breakaway speed, a possession receiver that was reliable on third downs. But he did everything, and he knew their offensive system, and they were comfortable plugging him in a way with the other guys like Khalif Raymond, Cam Batson. I think they like a little bit in this regard, but I think that there's the ability that this draft presents the ability to upgrade on somebody like Cam Batson or Khalif Raymond, somebody who is capable of playing all three positions, that really is less of a type of a receiver and more of a well-rounded player. I think that if you're lacking in some of the athletic abilities, if you're a cerebral guy, and if you understand route tree concepts, I think that's the kind of they're looking for a fourth dude.
So I don't think that's Devin Duvernay. That you did not describe him.
That's why I asked the question, because and it was a good answer by Buck. I think I have a vision of who the guy you're talking about, but you're right, Austin. That's not Devin Duvernay.
I do think that is Brian Edwards from South Carolina.
What do you think, Austin? Which guy is better for the Titans in that spot if they do go wide receiver? Because I want to have a wide receiver conversation, and then I want to have a running back conversation afterwards.
So I've been on record for a lot of this draft season saying the Titans do not need to add receiver until day 3, which would be tomorrow. And with a day 3 pick, I think you're looking at more of a specialized player, like a guy that just has pure speed, who fits kind of like a Devin Duvernay, or you're looking for a gadget guy like one of my draft crutches, Lynn Bowden Jr. from Kentucky. And that's like 4th round, which the Titans don't have a 4th round pick right now. So they'll have to finagle their way up there to see what they can do. But I agree with Buck. If you're doing a wide receiver at 93 overall in the 3rd round, you got to find the guy who can replace Corey Davis in 2 seasons. And kind of laid out what Buck just said, is he has to be well-rounded, run all the routes, the full tree. And I think that Brian Edwards is my guy right now at this point in the draft. There's also Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's a big-time player out of Michigan.
Yeah, he made some good catches.
6'2", 212, a product of an erratic quarterback in Shea Patterson and an erratic coach in Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. But Donovan Peoples-Jones could be a guy you could get even tomorrow morning early on there too.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to read a couple comments. I see a lot of people asking about defensive tackle. I think people are kind of fundamentally misunderstanding what the Titans are running realistically in their defensive scheme. Like, there's not a bunch of down defensive linemen. And really, when it comes to true hand-in-the-ground defensive linemen, you're really only using 3 players at any given point, and you have 5 total with Isaiah Mack and Mac Dickerson. I really think that if they were going to go defensive line, it would be more of an edge player. I think people are still recognizing the need, or at least visualizing the need, to draft a defensive tackle to help replace Jarrell Casey without really realizing that Jarrell Casey's already been, for all intents and purposes, replaced.
Well, and I'll say this. If they were going to go defensive tackle, they would have done it in round 1. They would have gone after one of the big elite athletes. But if you don't – Ross Blacklock, who went to the Texans in the division at 40, I believe that pick was. But if you don't do that, then you go late round pick on a guy who you think can fill some gaps or become a developmental guy. But they already have a lot of those guys on the roster, like Buck mentioned.
All right, I want to put a bow around this wide receiver conversation, because I want to talk about 2 local guys in particular, and then I want to bring up, and I just want to mention it because I think OG on Periscope mentioned Courtney Davis of Texas A&M, possibly in the 5th. He's a really good wide receiver. We watched him. I paid attention to A&M because I thought Kellen Mond was going to do a lot better job than he actually did. But Kalijah Lipscomb, and I was surprised that I had so much higher hopes for Marquez Callaway. And maybe it was because of the quarterback situation at Tennessee. But what do you guys think about? I really like Kalijah Lipscomb. I think he can do a lot as what we were kind of talking about in that. Now, he's only 6 foot tall, 6 feet height. But what do you think about him and then Marquez Callaway on down the draft?
Well, Buck, I'll let you start with Kalijah Lipscomb because you watched all of the games the last couple of years. They're also a product of really bad quarterback play, especially this past fall.
Anchor down, baby. That's my college football team, Vandy for life. Kalijah Lipscomb, There was a lot of weird stuff that went on this year, right? Because we're not quite sure. Obviously, he did a local radio interview with the Midday 180 kind of explaining away some of his absences over the course of the year and whether there was disagreements with Derek Mason and whether he was too vocal to the point where they were asking him to sit out and not participate in some of these games like the first half of UNLV. Kalijah Lipscomb, though, represents to me this may be a comparison that people push back on, but I really see like a poor man's Deebo Samuel in Kalijah Lipscomb, and I really, really like that if it's your fourth wide receiver. I don't like that if it's what you're looking for to eventually replace Corey Davis's production as your second wide receiver. I think you need somebody with a little more better physical attributes, better athleticism on the whole. But when you're talking about somebody who understands passing concepts, route trees, things of this nature, and the ability to play all three positions and give you value in special teams, I think Kalijah Lipscomb's that guy, and I would be totally comfortable with the Titans taking him on day 3.
Josh Jones finally goes off the board to the Cardinals in the 3rd round. That guy sitting around a long time. Let's update before I jump in on Marquez Callaway and talk about some of him. Let's update the last few picks because I feel like a lot of things have happened and we've just kind of been rolling forward with our conversation because I've seen Justin Matabuke went to the Ravens, the D tackle out of Texas A&M. Brandon Jones, the pick before that at number 70 overall, safety from Texas to the Miami Dolphins. 69th pick, nice pick by the Seattle Seahawks. Damian Lewis, guard from LSU.
Nice.
The Jets at 68 took Ashton Davis, a safety from Cal, who had a lot of high praise about him in this process. The Detroit Lions go with Julian Okwara from Notre Dame, the edge player there. And then that is where we back up to 66, where Washington takes wide receiver Antonio Gibson out of Memphis. That's what they're labeling Antonio Gibson as, a wide receiver, Buck. I know you like that pick a lot.
I do. I love that pick. I love the versatility. I love what he represents in today's NFL. And that's a player that can give you multiple things and somebody who, again, represents this H-back role and wide receiver hybrid, something that you can do more with in the passing game, help make your running offense more multiple, give different looks, a lot of different motions in the ability to disguise and help confuse opposing defenses with just exactly who needs to cover a guy like that. I think Washington got a really, really good player. By the way, people are asking about when are we going to hear from Christian Fulton. He's got an ESPN camera in his house, so he's doing car wash interviews. Local media won't get him until I think about 9:30.
Yeah, that's a long wait. All right, so I'll jump back in. Buck had a good answer about Kalijah Lipscomb, wide receiver from Vandy, as an option for the Titans. And Zach also brought up Marquez Callaway, Tennessee Vol. I think the one thing about Marquez Callaway is that you felt like he was taller than 6'1". He was a jump ball, dominant guy at Tennessee with Jerry Garantano the last couple of years. Just it felt like he won every contested jump ball catch down the field. Only 6'1", 205. He ran pretty fast, so that's good for Marquez Callaway. He does have return ability. I just don't know what all he can do when it comes to running routes. It seemed like he was either a go route, a deep post, or a fade, or a back shoulder fade. That's kind of what Marquez Callaway was limited to. Now, that could also be because Jared Garantano is limited and Juwan Jennings is so good in the middle of the field that you got to spread it out. So I think the one thing that holds Marquez Callaway back is a limited route tree.
Yeah, and I think you described him well. I think we got a lot of people mentioning Jennings, as you kind of talked about. Jennings is just too slow. And so I'd be surprised if he gets drafted. Honestly, I think that he's going to be a free agent. But he's a guy I would not be surprised if he winds up, because he's got great work ethic. I just don't think that he has all the other stuff. And we've had plenty of conversations about him. Yeah, I would like to see Marquez Callaway go to a good situation. Yeah,
sure. A situation where he's a specialty receiver. I talked about if the Titans wait until tomorrow to get a receiver, Marquez Callaway, later on, not like 5th round, but later on would make sense because he's a specialty jump ball guy down the field, which the Titans kind of have that in A.J. Brown because he's really good at that too. But Marquez Callaway was pretty elite in the SEC at that, especially.
All right, we've got a lot of time until the Titans pick, but we still have a lot to talk about, a lot of good conversations to have. I want to shift. I've got 2 position groups that I really want to talk about. First, I want to talk about the running back position because I do think they have to find a backup for Derrick Henry. And now we know a little bit more. The second round, a lot more guys are off the board, right? We saw the Ravens take Dobbins, who's just going to be, I'm scared to death. That is a ferocious backfield.
Oh, sex. That's your sex right there.
Yeah, right there. And the Detroit Lions early on, DeAndre Swift, I thought that was a great pick by them. They have not really had a good running back, right? They've tried a bunch of different guys, and it just hasn't worked. I thought Swift was a great pick there. We saw the Packers take my guy, the Sauce, A.J. Dillon. Would have loved to have the Titans there. But guys are still on the board. To kind of list a couple of them, Zach Moss out of Utah. I guess this is his brother, LaMichael Perine, Pirine, excuse me, Samaje. And you also have Keyshawn Vaughn. And then it kind of drops off into some other guys. Do you think running back is a position that they take a look at in the 3rd round late with their selection?
No. And in fact, I would almost venture a guess that they may look quarterback before they do running back.
That was the other position I wanted to talk about. That was the other. I wanted to talk about running back and quarterback. I'm talking about sexy picks. So, Buck, talk me through. Let's take a shift to the quarterback position because both of you guys said that they shouldn't draft a quarterback. If you don't, I believe that my memory serves me correct.
You are correct. Perhaps before we make this shift, would somebody like to tell the good people about one of our fantastic sponsors?
Yes, the Tucker Agency. Zach, you've been talking about the Tucker Agency for a couple of weeks now. They can save you guys and give you relief by saving you an average of 20% on your personal insurance. Will Tucker and his crew, TuckerTN.com. Zach, they can really help people out in a lot of different ways, especially in this time of crisis where people are trying to figure out what their financial situations are.
Yeah, just like maybe Austin and Buck maybe going through a little bit of crisis on the eve of this conversation, talking about quarterbacks, getting their thoughts together to decide maybe they do think that the Titans should draft a quarterback, like I've been saying all along. But I've been saying all along about the Tucker Agency, they're here to serve you, help you get money maybe in a time of question because of this coronavirus. Maybe you've lost your job. Maybe you have less income than you did because we live in this strange world. Well, Will Tucker and his entire agency can realign your insurance to save you a couple $100s a month. That can go a long way. You can maybe pay your mortgage, your rent. You can put food on the table. Look, everybody has to have insurance. If you're driving a car, you should have car insurance. If you've got a house, you should have home or renter's insurance. Maybe you need to restructure that. An average customer at the Tucker Agency saves 20%. 20% right now in the month of April, May, June, July, that will go a long way. TuckerTN.com. That's TuckerTN.com, or you can give them a call. It is very, very simple. TuckerTN.com, or give them a call at 615-330-5059. That's 330-5059, TuckerTN.com.
It's very useful. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
A to Z Sports NFL Draft Live. The Jags are about to make a pick, and Roger Goodell, guys, I don't know if we've forgotten, he is now sitting down in his study as we've seen a different angle of Roger Goodell's fake basement. But the Jags go with Devon Hamilton, defensive tackle from Ohio State. That is the 73rd pick in this NFL draft. So now there are 20 selections until the Titans will have their 3rd pick of the draft if they don't move. Now, we talk there's an ability of maybe the Titans moving up in this 3rd round or maybe moving back in this 3rd round because they don't have a 4th. They go from the 93rd overall pick all the way until 174 there in the draft. So there's a big gap after this 93rd. Maybe they move around. So, Zach, you've tossed out running back and quarterback. What are the Titans more likely to do Buck was about to go into this long spiel about quarterback over running back. So, Buck, I'll let you pick back up there.
Well, I mean, if Eason and Fromm are sitting here and there's 20 picks to go, and you really, really think that you have the ability to upgrade your backup quarterback position in a way that I don't think most people consider Jake Fromm to be a starter in the league.
Well, the quarterback may not be on the board. The Saints just traded up. They no longer have Teddy Bridgewater. I don't know what they're going to do with Taysom Hill.
I think the Saints
go marching in.
Yeah, I think they go Jacob Eason. I would. The Saints can't do Jake Fromm. The Saints pick is in, and Roger Goodell is about to announce this pick. 74th pick in the 2020 draft. The Saints trade up to select Zach Bond, who has been on a big-time fall as well. Potential first-round draft pick goes 74 overall to the Saints near the top of the third round.
All right, so Buck, continue with your. I thought that could be a quarterback would may change what you were going to say. So go ahead.
And it very well. I don't think it was necessarily the right idea to not take a quarterback there if you're the Saints. Jake Fromm is not a Saints quarterback, though.
Jake Fromm was a high school quarterback. I'll say that much.
Jake Fromm can fit very, very well in a Colts offense where they're not asking you to do a lot, where it's a lot of easy crossers across the middle of the field, where he's just being asked to paper cut you to death. Jake Fromm, though, would represent an upgrade over Logan Woodside. And if the Titans are going to look at the future, they're going to have to recognize that they need a legitimate option at backup quarterback for when this season expands to 17 games. And if the opportunity to take one of these quarterbacks that you're going to need to rely on, understanding that you have needs at edge and at corner still, you could certainly do with a backup running back and a little wide receiver depth. This would represent it too good of an opportunity to pass up on in a way that, Austin, you're shaking your head because I think it would bother you the same way that Isaiah Wilson bothered you. But again, this is about the future as much as it is the present. Jadeveon Clowney represents the present. Jake Fromm would represent future ability to keep them alive should something happen to Tannehill over a longer season.
Yeah, you think Jake Fromm would be the guy you would go with at this point?
I love Eason, truly, and I think Eason's got more of the attributes that I would look for in a quarterback. I also think that Jake Fromm's safer.
Yeah, but Jake Fromm won't throw the ball down the field 5 yards.
He doesn't need to throw the field. 5 yards is all he needs. This is a catch-and-run offense. These guys are giants.
What about A.J. Brown? He stretches the field.
Catch and run. They're not bombing it. They're not bombing it deep. The 91-yard touchdown from A.J. Brown was yak. This is a yak offense.
It was yak, but like 40 yards of it was yak. 50 yards of it was Tannehill airing that thing out.
He can.
I don't know. I don't know what you were watching there that day. But, I mean, that was a 91-yard touchdown where it was split in the air and on the ground.
Well, to be completely honest, the Raiders game was not a good day for me.
But again, but still, A.J. Brown, the first play of the whole season, Marcus Mariota play action pass down the center of the field, deep ball, A.J. Brown from 47 yards. I mean, this offense
can throw it 40 yards.
He doesn't like to. That's what I'm saying is Jake Fromm is so scared and hesitant to push the ball down the field, and his arm is like a wet noodle. Like that, he doesn't have a strong arm.
And what concentrates the Titans' offense is a quarterback unwilling to let the football go. Right?
Jake Fromm is the quarterback equivalent of a second baseman. Jacob Eason is a third baseman. Jacob Eason can put that thing on a rope, cross the diamond. Jake Fromm's just kind of flipping that thing over there at first base with his wrist.
Right, but I'm talking about in 20 picks, what's more realistic? I don't think Jacob Eason's there. I think Jake Fromm is.
Well, I don't think if they're both there, I think you should just skip both of it because the Titans do not need to – because you're talking about the future, you're trying to plan for the future behind Ryan Tannehill. This quarterback you want to draft. Timeout, Zach. I'm talking. This quarterback you want to draft here is going to have a 4-year contract, and Ryan Tannehill's on a contract for 3 years. And so you're drafting a guy in the third round who might play because they extend the season to 17 games?
Yes, very much so. I think last year was the year of the backup quarterback. Ryan Tannehill is representative of the year of the backup quarterback, and that's a different situation entirely because what was in front of him, I think, was fundamentally broken. And we're finding more about that out now that Mike Mayock is saying, well, we have to rebuild the guy. He's got to get healthy, which is craziness. to me with
Well,
Marcus.
I think that tells us that Marcus Mariota got hurt in that preseason game when he tried to do the flip. Yeah, the backflip. That was not a good idea.
Right.
Zach, you've been. I don't know if you're bored.
I've enjoyed this. I set this conversation up, and I've just been riding out the wave. It's been great because look, you know how I feel about this, and I obviously know we started this whole damn thing saying you guys both said you don't need a quarterback taken in this draft. They need a quarterback in this draft, guys. Like Buck, I think has come around to this idea, and I enjoy that. So hey, come on over, come full wagon, as we say here on this show.
Hey, Zach.
Yeah.
Your Tampa Bay Buccaneers are about to make a pick. Do you want to pause this Titans backup quarterback conversation? And
I would love them to take Jacob Eason and behind Tom Brady.
They just took my guy, Keyshawn Vaughn, running back from Vanderbilt.
That's a great
How about
fit.
that? How about that, Zach? Immediate reaction to Tom Brady handing off to Keyshawn Vaughn.
Well, I love that. I just question, look, the Bucs have taken some questionable running backs in their history, right? I mean, even dating back to Cadillac Williams in the 5th overall pick way back in the day, which was 2005, because I recently watched that draft. I do love Keyshawn Vaughn, though. I think that I love this pick. I think he's smart. He obviously went to Vanderbilt. I think he's a workhorse. He can get the tough yards. I love this. And they needed a running back. Oh, look, everybody knew what the Bucs needed. They needed offensive line help for Brady. They needed a running back, and they needed defensive line help. Now, they re-signed Jason Pierre-Paul and Ndamukong Suh. Their linebacking core is set. They've been working on that over the last several years with Devin White, who was outstanding last year, and Levante David. They helped their secondary earlier in the draft. So I like how this is coming together. Their secondary, they need to start working on cornerback because they cut Vernon Hargreaves III's ass in the middle of the season, and he was a first-round pick out of Florida. That's called Buster Rooney. But I like Keyshawn Vaughn, and I wish him the best. Hey, he's playing next to TB12. You got to love that.
Just makes me feel even better about putting some cash down on Bruce Arians' Coach of the Year plus 1,800. Keyshawn Vaughn, I think is a great pick. Buck, go ahead.
If anybody deserves it after all of the losing, it's Keyshawn Vaughn. My God, let him go. Let him go be free. Let him play in an offense where it's not going to be completely congested at the line of scrimmage with defenders just waiting to chew on him like the bear in the damn Revenant. I swear that this is something. If anybody deserves it, it's Keyshawn Vaughn. This man has had a frustrating collegiate career. He came back because it was important to him to graduate from Vanderbilt for the sake of him and for his family, his young family that he's just had, I guess, over the course of his senior year. And now he is being rewarded with the opportunity to play with the GOAT and one of the best-looking offenses in football next year, assuming that Gronk gets his WD-40.
And I'll say this, because Mulvon brings it up. Is there a skill player who upgraded more at the quarterback position going from college to the NFL than Keyshawn Vaughn? I mean, that guy had Riley Neal, who was a true noodle arm, throwing to him at Vanderbilt, and now he's going to the GOAT, Tom Brady. What an upgrade for Keyshawn Vaughn to go from an awful quarterback situation at Vanderbilt to Tom Brady, Bucks. What just an explosive offense that they have down there in Tampa.
All right, got some trash talk going on in the interwebs, which you got to love. Chase on Game says, please get rid of this mustache. All I can hear is envy coming on from Chase on Game. And then, you can't forget about Redneck Patriot. They're coming at you, Austin.
Who's Redneck Patriot? I don't think I've ever heard that name.
He's a YouTube guy. Big YouTube guy.
I poked the Georgia Bear. I think I pissed somebody off.
Okay.
Who's a big Georgia Bulldog fan.
Well, this is what they're calling you. Quote, Austin is a wet noodle. Seriously? Fromm is scared to throw downfield. He played at Georgia, had the best O-line, and DeAndre Swift. Why throw with that?
I honestly felt like Georgia's offensive line was so good that Jake Fromm did not have any true experience of playing in the SEC. Like that guy never got hit. His offense, yes, correct, Redneck Patriot. That offensive line was really good, and he had DeAndre Swift. He wasn't Jake Fromm is as dull as a quarterback can possibly get. And look, he might be safe, but I don't think the Titans need to waste a third-round pick on a safe quarterback. I don't think you need to get a quarterback in the draft in general. I think you need to get somebody to go help them win right now, whether it's another corner, a wide receiver. I think a running back, I would pick a running back here over wide receiver, especially because Keyshawn Vaughn just went in the third round. I think there's going to be a run on some running backs coming up.
Austin, what if Jacob Eason is there at, what do they pick, 93?
93.
Would you be okay with that?
No. No.
You don't want him to pick.
If Jordan Love was there at 93, I would say no.
Ryan Tannehill, Austin.
Nobody heard either anything that you two just said because you're talking over each other.
Sorry.
I don't care. Answer the question. Answer the question, Austin. Who is going to back up Ryan Tannehill?
Nobody understood. A veteran backup.
Who?
Have you seen a veteran backup right now?
Coming out of retirement?
What did John Robinson say last night? After the draft, there's always veteran players who become available who were not available before the draft. So that's going to happen. There will be another cycle of free agency after quarterbacks who get drafted over become available because their veterans are too expensive. I don't think it's smart to use one of your 4 draft picks in the top 5 rounds to get a quarterback who's going to be sitting behind Ryan Tannehill for at least 3 years of that 4-year rookie contract.
And all I'm asking for is a couple of examples of those guys that will get passed over that could be a backup quarterback to Ryan Tannehill that is not a draftee.
I don't know yet because they're probably on a roster right now. That's my point. I don't think you should – I'm not saying backup quarterback is not important. I think backup –
are.
No, I'm not. I'm saying I want a veteran guy who's actually done something before in the NFL to be your backup, not a rookie who's green.
Again, look at the veteran backup quarterback market that exists. None of these guys have done anything.
Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, are you ignoring the part where I'm saying the guys who are currently on rosters that will become available after the draft?
Give me examples of that.
Andy Dalton is a great one. Jacoby Brissett is somebody.
Trade for Andy Dalton. Jacoby Brissett you have to trade for. These are not trading for these guys. Now you may get lucky and RG3 gets released or something like that. You may, but still, these are not better options.
RG3, those used goods.
He didn't look terrible last year, but that's besides the point. I look at the vet because I am taking into consideration what you're saying, Austin, and I'm just disagreeing that it's a feasible option.
I'm not taking into consideration
based on
it's ridiculous
because you're difficult. I'm diplomatic. That's why I'm between you two. That's why I'm sitting here between you two. I'm fighting off.
You're under us, Buck. You're under us. What are you doing down there? I'm just impressed Zach looked the correct direction.
I know I saw him think about it too.
If you go back and watch the tape. I kind of stretched this way so I can roll.
No, we all saw the fake out. We all saw the fake out.
I'm talking to you.
Hey, Bucky boy.
Oh, DeMarie says, did Flacco get released? This is what the hell we're talking about.
Hey, Austin. Hey, give me a high five, man.
Oh, my God, stop.
Hey, don't leave me hanging. Yeah.
You guys are corny as hell.
We've been live for 92 minutes. This is what's happening right now.
Well, listen, this is the beauty of it. We can do this stuff. It's easy.
Yes. So, again, I just don't think a quarterback is worth taking in the third round. I really don't. And I'm sorry. I like Jacob Eason better than Jake Fromm. I do not like Jake Fromm as a pro prospect. I don't care what Redneck Patriot thinks about it.
Well, you know who I do care? You know who I do care what they have to say?
John Robinson?
No, Nardo McCracken, because he says, don't disrespect Buck like that. And based on what I'm looking at Nardo's profile picture, I wouldn't mess with Nardo either. Don't come at your boy. I got backup out here in these streets.
Look, some Hennessy just got picked down there in Atlanta. How about living in Atlanta with a name Matt Hennessy? That sounds like a great time.
Not if you're white.
Except you play center, so that's just not even fun either. If you're a DB with the last name Hennessy playing in Atlanta, that sounds like a great time to be an Atlanta Falcon. A to Z Sports here live. The Jets are on the clock at pick. What is that? 79. here in the third round. So we're getting closer and closer and closer to the Titans being on the clock. We didn't spend a lot of time on running backs as Zach kind of propped that up. We touched on Keyshawn Vaughn a little bit, obviously, because he got drafted by the Buccaneers a few picks ago. But running backs available that we actually think the Titans could land at 93 overall. Right now on ESPN's list, the top 4 available. Actually, I'll add 7 because I think these 7 names could be realistic. Zach Moss out of Utah, LaMichael Pirine from Florida, Darrington Evans from Appalachian State, DJ Dallas, heck of a name, from Miami, Joshua Kelly from UCLA, Eno Benjamin from Arizona State, and Anthony McFarland from Maryland. Those are really the top 7 running backs on the board where the Titans could be able to get one of those guys at 93 overall.
I got no interest in Anthony McFarland. I see a lot of people weighing in on that.
Text Mel and ask him what he thinks about Anthony McFarland.
I think he's a little busy and his hands may not work as well. He's sweating. Not only is he sweating draft knowledge, he is sweating bullets on the draft coverage.
If Mel Kiper Jr. gets a text asking about Anthony McFarland, he will stop whatever he's doing and respond because that's how highly he thinks of Anthony McFarland. That's all I'm saying.
I should try that. I should try texting Mel right now and see what happens.
Just to see what happens.
Hey, bud, how's your night? How's life?
So running backs.
Does Mel have family? I mean, I assume
he's married. Family. He's got a daughter. I mean, you should listen to his podcast more.
I've just never seen him outside of the basement.
He goes kayaking in the rivers down there in Baltimore and eats.
Oh my God, that majestic hairdo in the wind. Oh.
Shout out to Barney on YouTube. These YouTubers know exactly what they're talking about. I'll tell you what, from Redneck Patriot to Barney, guy on top right has a superior stash. Thank you, my man. My
favorite thing about that comment is the guy on the top right, like your name isn't exactly right there.
So the YouTubers maybe lacking a little self-awareness, maybe observation of dying art.
No, Barney comes back in and says, "Where's Stanley Man's hair?"
No, he said, "Where's Stanley's man hair?" If you want to read correctly, there's a comma in there that changes things. He's asking, "Where's my facial hair?" Because both of you guys have facial hair. I don't have the ability to grow it. So
listen, I would trade you. I would trade you babyface for facial hair in a heartbeat.
I would not.
That's fine. That's fine. I look a lot younger than I actually am, so which is completely cool with me because later on that's going to be nice. So if you want to, Barney, if you want to pop in here for some more facial hair commentary, you can ask Buck about his hair finally growing back. Buck, you're actually getting to look close to what you were before you lost the bet and had to shave your head on live radio.
Indeed, and because of that fact, I'm able to use my hard hair clay from our friends at Tame the Beast. The promo code is AZ50 at getbeast.com. for 50% off your online order on all of their fantastic hygienic products. Right now, because of the Rona, if you go to getbeast.com and you order $10 worth of stuff, they'll send you a free soap brick to wash your hands. The soap brick is incredible. The exfoliating Yop hand wash is as well because it gets under your fingernails. Well, where all of that grime assembles, getbeast.com, the website, promo code AZ50. Save yourself some scratch, smell clean, be a beast, groom boldly. Go to getbeast.com and our friends at Tame the Beast.
A to Z Sports here live, NFL Draft live coverage. We're getting closer and closer to the Titans pick in the third round. I believe we're sitting right smack dab in the middle of round 3 here on Friday night. We've been live for an hour and almost 40 minutes here on the show. The Titans had Christian Fulton fall to them at 61 overall. Zach, that was your guy, Christian Fulton, to go in the first round, and John Robinson gets a huge steal in the second round at 61 overall.
Yeah, you got to love that. I think if you're a Titans fan, is they go and they bolster their offensive line with Isaiah Wilson in the first round. And a guy, I mean, he had a first-round grade from – you look at all – like, I'm not sitting here claiming – I think Jim Wyatt tweeted this out. There was like over 50 mock drafts that had Christian Fulton to the Titans, but they were all in the first round. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to go ahead and say 51 because I'll add myself into that mix because I felt like that was the most logical thing. We all thought that they were going to try to trade out. They did try. They were not successful because of the Packers getting Jordan Love, but they benefited from falling. He free fell all the way to 61. John Robinson didn't have to trade up. I think they got they got him. He's a better player than the 61st best player in this draft. I think because of the wide receivers, 14 of them going as high as they did. I think the bevy of running backs in the second round, that kind of falling to the board, they got benefit. And so I think Titans fans should be happy. They got to start thinking about that secondary because they got good linebackers, good safeties. If they get Clowney, that defensive line is going to look tasty. I think the Titans are right where they want to be.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking Amik Robertson's still on the board. Bryce Hall, Cam Dantzler. There's some pretty good corners still on the board. How would you guys – because we've talked a lot about running back, quarterback, wide receiver. The Titans now with Christian Fulton only have 5 corners on the roster. And Chris Milton, special teams guy. Ty Smith, you'd like him to be no higher than your 4th corner. Would you entertain the idea of going back-to-back corner in the 2nd and 3rd round if you can get Robertson, Bryce Hall, Cam Dantzler?
No, you can't. You can't put them all on the field. I mean, for the same reason that you find the Isaiah Wilson objectable. That's not the right word I'm looking for.
It works.
Objectionable. That's what I'm trying to say. Objectionable because he's not going to be available to them right out of the gate in your mind. I just don't think there's enough opportunity. I think that if you're in the playoffs and you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs and you're dropping everybody back into coverage, then that's a situation where you can use a 4th cornerback like that. But in terms of impact, you really, really need somebody to supplement Derrick Henry. You let it go much longer, it's going to be the drop off is going to be too great to where if Henry has to sit out another game because of a hamstring late in the year, guys like this are not going to be able to carry the bulk of the workload.
Yeah, A to Z Sports here live on the show, and I think you could make an argument about going cornerback in the 3rd round because you can never have enough corners. And last year, the Titans had injuries, significant injuries to 2 of them, Malcolm Butler and to Adoree Jackson, where they missed games, and they were sitting there in the AFC title game having to rely on who was I just lost his name, the ad on waivers from last year. From the Arizona Cardinals.
Jermaine
Brock, who wasn't any good. I got distracted because Lynn Bowden Jr. just went off the board to the Raiders in the 3rd round. That's somebody that I liked a lot. And
again, it has to go to the right. He's got to go to the right place. And I don't know if the Raiders are that, but that dude's got a fascinating story and one of the more interesting guys that Kentucky has had go through that program. The idea that the state of Ohio let Lynn Bowden Jr. get out and head down to Kentucky to kind of really change what their season was last year. One of the more impressive things I saw in the SEC. I like him a lot.
I want to do something real quick to interject because I've seen some comments flying in. Nick LeClaire brings this up, and this name, and I didn't know him, but this name does look familiar. He says, guys, lost a huge Titans fan, Alex Martinez, last night. He's the creator of the Real Titans Fan for Life group, which is a huge group in the Titan community. Truly bled blue. Give this man an RIP and a shout out. So here's your shout out. If you want to send one of the cross sword emojis for Alex Martinez. Again, that name I recognize. He has watched this show. And if that is true that he's unfortunately passed, man, rest in peace. So go ahead and give those crossing swords emoji if you want to comment that. That's unfortunate. You guys are the reasons why we do what we do, right? This is why we have an audience. This is why we have a community. And if that is the fact, we hate to hear somebody passing, especially if they're a part of this Titans community that we talk about, right? That we cover the team for you guys to have these discussions. So rest in peace and thoughts and prayers to your family, Alex Martinez, and everybody that knew him, a part of this Titans community.
And I did see that on Facebook earlier, and Alex watched our show a bunch, and I know we've read his comments several times. And
I know I have. The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, and Alex is a big time Titans fan. Not sure exactly what happened to Alex, but unfortunately passed last night. I believe that was what happened with Alex. So A to Z Sports here live. NFL Draft Live in the third round. The Raiders just took Lynn Bowden Jr., and now they have another pick as Roger Goodell is reading in another third-round pick from the Las Vegas Raiders. And they go back-to-back wide receivers. Bryan Edwards. They've got triple SEC wideouts with the Las Vegas Raiders going Henry Ruggs in the first round, Lynn Bowden Jr., and then Bryan Edwards. I guess whoever's throwing the football for the Las Vegas Raiders will have some talent to throw to.
It's the one thing you've been asking for Marcus Mariota for quite some time now. Looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties there with the graphic. But when you look at, well, I guess I've just adopted a new name.
You'll be Zach Bingham for a second.
I can be a placeholder for Zach Bingham for the second until our dear friend rejoins us. Yeah, Marcus Mariota is going to be in a unique position just to throw it as far as you can and see if these guys can come down with it. This is what Bryan Edwards represents, and the reason why Marcus Mariota makes so much sense to the Las Vegas Raiders is because he has the ability to take an opportunity the way that Tannehill did. As we are rejoined by our good friend Zach talking about Bryan Edwards going to the Las Vegas Raiders. Welcome back, buddy.
What happened?
Well, no, glad to be back. Well, I've got tabs open and I was going through.
You exited out of the page.
Yeah, I slipped up. I exited out.
IT guy with a problem.
Yeah,
Man,
prayers for the IT guys. Thoughts and prayers for the IT guys.
Yeah, everybody needs thoughts and prayers for the IT guys. Look, I'm probably getting flack on here, but it was a slip of the X, and once you go away, you gone. You know,
who among us hasn't had a slip of the X?
Oh man, A to Z Sports. Now
I got you with that one, didn't I?
That was good. That was good. A to Z Sports. So the Las Vegas Raiders just going wide receiver heavy. Zach, I don't know if you were able to know what was going on, but Bryan Edwards went. It was Lynn Bowden Jr., Bryan Edwards, wide receivers back-to-back for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Well, yeah, I didn't die. I know exactly what we were talking about. I was gone for maybe less than 30 seconds. My thought and what I was going to try to bring up right before I slipped the X was, what are the Las Vegas Raiders, which is weird to say, what do they think about Derek Carr? Like, is Gruden – I feel like they're ready to start over again. You know, they're getting him all these weapons. I feel like this is one of the signs where you're in a relationship. They're giving him so much opportunity to change and be better and call you and do better and love you a little bit more. And if you don't, you gone. But deep into your heart of hearts, I don't feel like they're sold because they've got brand new management, right? Mike Mayock and John Gruden came in. They did not draft Derek Carr. That's a problem. And I feel like they're trying to start over in their new location, new stadium, new organization.
Trying to score some points, right? I mean, that's what it looks like to me. They're just trying to put up as many points as they have. They have a really good running back in Josh Jacobs. I think we like him.
They just want grinders, baby. They just want grinders.
And Bryan Edwards is a playmaker. I talked about him earlier when we were talking about wideout options for the Titans in the third round. And he just can't stay healthy. He couldn't stay healthy for South Carolina for a couple of seasons. And Lynn Bowden Jr. So you've got three different types of receivers that the Raiders have drafted. So they've drafted three guys from the SEC. That sounds like a lot, the same position group, but three very different skill sets. Henry Ruggs, the fastest guy in the draft. Lynn Bowden Jr. is an absolute gadget player who can play in the slot, win after the catch. You can do a bunch of different things with him. And Bryan Edwards is your traditional, big, tall, muscular guy who can play your X.
So that's what the Packers should have been doing. Jeez.
You're right. You're exactly right. Now, they didn't have the 13th overall pick to go get Ruggs, but they definitely could have gotten one of those other wide receivers there in the second round.
And listen, my guy Brian Gutekunst, he knows all. He doesn't need any of your outside criticism. Him and Matt LaFleur are going to ride Jordan Love into the sky. It's going to be a great, seamless transition. Aaron Rodgers is going to treat Jordan Love like family, which is probably not necessarily a good thing. And this is all going to come la-di-da at the end of the day for the Green Bay Packers.
You know what you guys should have done? And this is savviness on
I've
your
been sitting
part.
on that joke for a while.
that was good. That was good. You know what you should have done? When I X'd out by accident, you don't go to two screen. You go to the jungle. What are you talking about? That's what you do. When things go crazy, you make them a little bit more crazier. Did you notice that when they picked Vrabel, very calm room with not a lot of distractions? Second and third round different than the first round.
Well, we'll see what happens in the third round. I don't know what the teenage hooligans have been doing. It's 9. See, it was late in the night when they were up there for the 29th pick. It was early. They were still probably playing video games and eating dinner. Now it's getting later and later Friday night. They'll probably be on there for 90.
I want them to be dressed up as different superheroes. That's what I want. Now they've got Frozone. I want the kids, look at the high schoolers there. They're dressed up as what are the Incredibles. Then you've got the Batman over there. You've got the Joker. That would be entertaining. Then you know what? It makes it fun. Then it's not like a thing. It's just like these guys are having fun. But Vrabel, if anybody knows Vrabel, he's a serious guy. I mean, he takes his job seriously.
But he's not.
Did you see what he was doing tonight?
Huh?
Did you see what Mike Vrabel was doing tonight during the second round pick?
I thought he was just sitting there.
No, he's playing Barstool Feud with Lawan and Compton on a live stream with Diana Rossini. He's in the middle.
So that's why Diana Rossini hasn't been breaking any news.
She's been preoccupied on the live stream with Barstool. Mike Vrabel's been doing the Barstool Family Feud with Team Bussin' tonight in the midst of the second round pick. So how seriously do we really take this thing?
I have to go back and watch that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Vrabel's serious when he wants to be serious, and when he is serious, he's very serious. And I'll say it that way. But then there's a lot of times where
from experience.
Yeah, kind of.
Shouldn't you both?
Yeah, do you, Zach?
I mean, not really.
I got the bigger, louder cuss job, but you've been too close to a place he didn't want filmed before.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's dropped an F-bomb at me, but again, I that doesn't. Lots of people, and that's just a me thing. I don't care. Like
I out F-bomb you by about 6.5. Yeah, he probably threw 7.5 F-bombs at me,
and I only got one.
J Farm 87 says Vrabes is serious with the media, but his guys he cuts up with. No, he cuts up with us. I mean, he told Austin the other day that he thought him and Luke Worsham, our great guy for A2ZSportsNashville.com, were with the same person for the first 6 months. I mean, this is Mike Vrabel press conferences are entertaining, and we have a pretty good relationship with him in a way that he doesn't take those things as seriously as other dull, less interesting coaches would.
Now, I answered that comment from Vrabel by just kneecapping Luke and saying that I'm much, much taller than Luke. Later on, you know how later on you always think of like, I should have said this. I should have been like, yeah, that was Luke on field 3 who was videoing that day. It wasn't me. That was Luke. I should have done that.
Oh, no, you should have been like, that was Luke that you cussed out.
That's what I just said.
But you have to say cussed out. You can't just say on field 3. I don't know.
Also, are we just going to gloss over Austin's awful attempt at a joke to say I kneecapped Luke by telling him how much shorter he was?
I wasn't expecting. I was trying to do Luke a favor. Luke got kicked out of the Zoom meeting.
Did you miss your own joke?
What?
You kneecapped Luke with a short joke?
Okay.
Oh, my God.
He's stunned. He's frozoned.
The freeze.
Welcome to the jungle.
Yeah, this is getting
fun in games.
I feel like we are completely sober. This is the scary part.
Oh, this is unbelievable. But see, this is a much better way to do the NFL draft. By the way, Lloyd Cushenberry, the center from LSU, first team All-SEC, just gone to the Denver Broncos. Denver's got a pretty solid offense around Drew Lock right now.
Is Drew Lock any good? That's what we're going to find out.
Against the Houston Texans, he was. Hey, Drew Lock, big deal. John Elway finally got one, and then the next week they pooped their pants.
Oh, man. All right, so what pick are they on? The 84. We are 10 picks away from the Titans here on the round 3 of the NFL draft.
Meanwhile, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go for it. It doesn't matter at this point.
There are no rules. It's 9:45. It's day 2. We don't care anymore. There are no rules. So meanwhile, while we are waiting, it has been an hour and 36 minutes since the Titans made their last pick. The local media has still not spoken with Christian Fulton because the Titans got a player that the national media cares about, and he's making the car wash circuit first. So there,
I think it goes to what we talked about is the national media thought Christian Fulton was a first-round pick. just like everybody else.
Got an ESPN camera in his house for a reason.
So maybe the national media, maybe the Titans got a first-round pick in the second round.
Well, that's the argument that you could make for Harold Landry, right? That was the whole. I mean, the injuries were.
I think no. I mean, when Harold Landry was drafted, I felt like most, and we talked a lot about Harold Landry before the draft. And when he fell, because we knew that they needed a pass rusher at the time, when he fell, they got Rashaan Evans and they got Harold Landry. We all felt like that was a steal. That he, like all the medical stuff, all the question marks, that was not indicative of the player that Harold Landry was going to be. And so far, through 2 years, Harold Landry has been fantastic. Right. And to that
was a stretch, but he's been good. He's been good.
No, I mean, he's look, he had to sit behind Derek Morgan and Brian Orakpo his first year, which worked out well. He had no help on the other side last year. Let's face it, guys. Like
he played a lot of snaps. He played a ton of snaps early on last year. And the whole Titans defense did, because the Titans defense was really good in the first half of the season and dropped off a little bit because they couldn't hold up anymore, and injuries took their toll on that defense.
Realistically, he didn't get help until the playoffs when Kamalei Correa kind of figured out what the hell they wanted him to do, and that made his life a lot easier.
He was playing coverage.
Right, they were dropping him into coverage. I thought of our buddy Luke Worsham asking Brable, why do you drop Harold Landry into coverage so many times? Well, because they don't have anybody to cover these wide receivers.
Who's going to rush? I don't know. Yeah. Logan Ryan. That's the funny. They're dropping Harold Landry into coverage and blitzing Logan Ryan.
Well, that says more about what happened to Logan Ryan in that particular game than anything else. You look at we're talking about Christian Fulton, the cornerback from LSU, who the Nashville media has still yet to speak with. Good on the Titans for making that an efficient process. But I just got a text from my friend Michael Kist, is a draft analyst for Bleeding Green Nation. He's one of the best out there doing it. I love Michael Kist. And Michael Kist just texted me, I would have given a kid for Christian Fulton to the Philadelphia Eagles at 51. He would have sacrificed one of his children to get this corner.
So he doesn't like Jalen Hurts.
If anybody does not like Jalen Hurts right now, it is the entire city of Philadelphia. Like that's not a fan base you want to walk into. In this particular situation. Green Bay.
Do you think so? Because look, last year in Philadelphia, their quarterback got hurt again. Carson Wentz, who really the first year the year that he tore his ACL, he was having an MVP caliber season up into that point in LA. ACL tears, and from that point on, they've had question marks like the Titans fan base, and I compare this, had question marks to Marcus Mariota. Now, they've had better results, a little bit better results, but you can't afford, you have to have a backup plan. I look at Jalen Hurts as Ryan Tannehill. It's the same philosophy. It's just maybe, I don't know if Jalen Hurts will lead his team to an AFC championship game. The Eagles got a title out of it with goals.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Eagles have a pretty good team around Carson Wentz, and he obviously needed help at wide receiver, and they did that. I think they did that with Jalen Reagor in the first round, but I think that makes a lot of sense for the Eagles to go Jalen Hurts because of Carson Wentz's injury history. The Colts are now picking, and they take Julian Blackmon, a safety out of Utah. So Utah has had a couple defensive players going in this draft, and Zach Moss, Utah running back, still on the board as well.
Still on the board. Look, I think that could be in play at 93 if he's still there as a backup to Derrick Henry. I think we've talked a lot about quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. They've addressed cornerback. They've addressed offensive line already in their first two picks. They don't need linebacking help. They don't need safety help. They may need interior defensive line help, but the question marks about Clowney, we don't know what's going to happen there. I do think this is my prediction sitting here, however many 8 picks away. I think they're going to trade up at some point with their 7th rounders to get a little bit they're going to target a guy that they like. And they're going to give away one of their 7th rounders, and it may be tomorrow. I don't know if they necessarily think it will be today, but I do think that that's going to happen.
Well, because they've got 93 overall tonight. The last pick is 106, and then tomorrow the Titans' first pick is 174. So that is a long wait to go from 93 to 174. And Zach, I agree. They've got 3 7th-round draft picks. I don't think the plan is to draft 3 7th-round draft picks. They're trying to use those guys to move up. How much can they get can 2 7th-round draft picks get you a fifth, an extra fifth? I have no idea how that draft math works out.
Well, and listen, if you can get an extra 5th-round pick, John Robinson has made magic with 5th-round picks. When you talk about Tajay Sharp and Jayon Brown and guys who you look to fill out the bottom half of the roster or look for players who can play all 3 starting wide receiver positions, guys who can help you in spots when they're put in, and DeAndre Walker was their 5th-round pick last year. We still don't know what exactly
Dane Cruikshank has played a pretty good role for this team. It's not been at safety, but Dane Cruikshank is one of their leaders on special teams.
Dane was a 5th-round pick, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have Dane Cruikshank, you have Jayon Brown, you have LaShawn Sims, you have Tajay Sharp. John Robinson does well in the 5th round, and honestly, the talent disparity is a lot different. It looks like the Pats are now on the clock, and Zach Moss has just been picked by the Bills.
Okay.
According to Dov Kleinman of NFL Media on Twitter, their selection has just been announced or getting ready to announce on the draft broadcast. That's who I would have, honestly, if I was going to trade up for anybody, it would have been Zach Moss.
Well, he's gone. So I think it's
telling you, I think quarterback's really in play here.
Well, and I think quarterback could be in play here, like with the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
They need one, that's for sure.
Because Jacob Eason still chilling right there. Jacob Eason's hanging out.
They just showed him and Fromm and their families.
And I don't. Who do you guys like, Eason or Fromm better? I obviously like Eason. I do not like Fromm whatsoever, as that's been made very clear on this broadcast.
Oh, Noodle Boy.
Yeah, Noodle Arm Jake from Fromm.
No, Eason is Eason's the more exciting player. I think anybody who has watched the two of them play would say Eason over Fromm.
Right.
I agree. I think there's something about Fromm that I do like, though. I like the idea of Fromm sitting for years, right, and learning. And you talk about not taking chances. If, in fact, the Titans, let's throw this out as a scenario, they take Jake Fromm, he sits behind Ryan Tannehill, who he is a risk taker. He does throw the ball downfield. He trusts his wide receivers. He puts it out there. Maybe you can learn. Jake Fromm's talented. He does have an eye. I know, Austin, you don't like him. He's saying he doesn't have an arm. He does have an arm. And we don't know his true capabilities. To Redneck Parrot's point, he did have a great offensive line and a good running game, right? So he used what he had. Now, he played really well against Notre Dame and won that game. Down the stretch, he did not win the games that he needed to get them to the national championship or even the college football playoff. You can't deny that. But I don't hate the fact if Jake Fromm is on the Tennessee Titans as a backup for a couple of years.
Well, okay.
What he represents is somebody who's not going to put you in a bad position. And that's
right. That's the best attribute you can have in a backup quarterback. That's what you want. Sign me up. Jim Sorgi, come on.
Safe with limited ability is better than reckless and less ability. Like
Jameis Winston's the worst backup quarterback in the history of backup quarterbacks, and he's about to be on the market.
Well, he is on the market. He's still on the market for a reason, for many reasons. So I was about to ask you guys, what do you want in a Titans backup quarterback? Do you want somebody who is more like Ryan Tannehill, or do you want somebody who's different? Because I could make an argument that you would like your backup quarterback to be able to obviously not turn the ball over, but you like them to be a little athletic, to be able to make some plays with their legs on their own, to bail themselves out if they need to. So Jake Fromm's not really that guy.
Fromm can get out of trouble.
I'm saying, like, he was
so anti. You sound like Derrick Henry early on in his career.
Well, what we're clearly seeing. What we're clearly seeing is SEC East biased of the highest order. The orange-colored glasses are bleeding.
Oh boy,
he's look, your eyes got bigger than when they called Jordan Love than mine when they said Jordan Love to the Packers last time.
The Pats pick is in.
I'm teasing.
Anthony Jennings from Alabama. outside linebacker who has been injured the entire time he's been at Alabama. And really, I mean, freak athlete, highly rated recruit for Alabama, but has really struggled to stay on the field with some significant injuries, not just like nagging things, but like actual, like, significant injuries. But hey, the Patriots get another pass rusher, right?
Can we imagine a situation where they ride with
Jarrett
Stidham at quarterback?
No. I can't see that happening. I truly cannot see that happening.
Jarrett Stidham and Brian Hoyer on their roster right now. Brian Hoyer has lost 12 of his last 13 NFL starts ever since that disastrous Texans playoff game where he threw like 8 interceptions.
That's almost as good as Zach Mettenberger.
Oof.
But I mean, seriously, like the Patriots cannot do that. Right?
They've gone defense all 3 picks. Apparently they can.
Well, because their defense was old.
Do you think they're sacrificing knowing that they're going to be bad this year?
You go tank for Trevor?
No, I can't imagine.
They're not going to be that. They can't be that bad, can they?
Without a quarterback, yes, they can. You know how much Tom Brady has covered up? Like they had a really good defense. They had really good defense last year. But Tom Brady over the years has covered up so many blemishes to that entire team. And Bill Belichick, to their credit, that's why they're the greatest of all time. I think it sounds like a duck. It's a duck. I think that they're tanking. All the quarterbacks are off the board, and Robert Kraft has got to have some say of who the next incumbent is. They just traded away Jimmy Garoppolo, who's just in the Super Bowl.
There's still Cam Newton, which, again, I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Cam or Jameis Winston. That's the opposite personality, work ethic. Those are divas.
Andy Dalton feels like the perfect Patriots quarterback.
That's called tanking.
I'm just talking about. I'm just saying,
as Buck said, you're going to trade for him, right? You're going to give something up.
The Patriots can do that. They have no other choice. That's what's crazy. And look, there hasn't been a quarterback go off the board since Jalen Hurts, right?
Correct. And Elizabeth brings up something I brought up yesterday. I would not be surprised if Aaron Rodgers demands a trade after this. I think this is sports today's age. You mess with me, I'm getting the hell out of Dodge.
There's no way that's happening.
I would love to see it. Just because the Packers have screwed over Aaron Rodgers. Then I like Aaron Rodgers. He's a mustache guy.
Let him go to the Bears. Let him ride out the Mitch Trubisky train. Who have they tried to supplant Mitch Trubisky with? Is Foles?
Nick Foles.
Foles is a Chicago Bear right now. Yeah, you got that. Go and take over the NFC North for another team and play with the defense and skill. They've actually got decent skill position players. Right now, I am fascinated by I'm honestly curious as to what the Cleveland Browns do here right now. They're on the clock. And I thought for a moment that they were going to do something to legitimately change what this offense would look like with Baker Mayfield's protection. But I think all they've done is draft one really good right tackle and sign another one for a lot more money. Outside of that, I've been hugely impressed with the Browns.
Mekhi Becton's going to play left tackle for the Browns.
All right, so we got to follow this. This is a great tweet that I have to bring up. I absolutely have to. So Jim Wyatt, everybody knows Jim Wyatt, says he tweets out 5 minutes ago, one benefit from working the NFL draft at home, I was just able to knock out a Kit Kat ice cream cone without missing a pick, which does sound delicious. And then JT from 104.5, the producer of 3HL, asks, are you wearing pants tonight, Jimbo? Which is a great question, right? We've all said, you don't know if I'm wearing pants. I am wearing pants. I'm a pants guy when I do these things. Some people are not. Buck, he likes athletic wear. He sometimes wears shorts. Who knows what he wears? Jim's
nothing tonight.
Jim's response to "Are you wearing pants, Jimbo?" He says, "No britches tonight. I'm wearing my freeze costume."
Jimmy off the top rope. See, Wyatt, I wish Wyatt was not a team employee. I want uncensored, unleashed Jimmy. Give that to me. I need it in my life.
Yeah. Jim Wyatt with his own Frozone Butchers report. Pretty good.
That made me laugh, man.
That's really good.
I don't care
Jim
who you are.
Wyatt has some fantastic dad humor, like really good dad humor. Scotty says if the Titans don't get a DN, they're signing Jadeveon Clowney next week? Question mark. Oh, that's a question.
Well, you know who's still out there that I don't? Ethan wants to know if I'm in boxers. No, I just don't have underwear on. Bradley and I of Utah is still out there as well. And he is a prospect that's interesting from a defensive end, edge rusher standpoint, and I think he would give them good value here in the third. When John Robinson says our draft may affect how they feel about Clowney, I think we may find out if this guy lasts to 91 with Cleveland, Minnesota, and Houston ahead of them.
What's the gut? What's the gut feeling right now? Because I honestly have no idea what the Titans are going to do. Like I didn't know they were going to go Isaiah Wilson, obviously, last night. I think we were all sitting here thinking Christian Fulton dropping is probably likely, but this is an absolute wild card. I have no idea what the Titans are going to do here in a few picks.
Well, so let's go through this because we've got a little bit of time. Let's go through the picks above the Titans, right? So right now the pick is in of the Browns. We can kind of skip over that.
I'll update that when I see it.
Right,
Well,
so
it's Jordan Elliott.
Jordan Elliott from Missouri.
Yes.
Okay.
So after that, so tackles off the board. So now you got Vikings, Texans, Raiders, Ravens. So let's go through and look at these team needs to kind of narrow down to see who could jump the Titans or pick somebody that they may want to target. The Vikings, if you look at their team need, scrolling over, cornerback, wide receiver, safety, offensive tackle, and defensive tackle. Well, they've already taken a wide receiver in Justin Jefferson. They've already taken a cornerback, which the Titans already took. They've already taken an offensive tackle with Cleveland from Boise State, and the Vikings have a pretty good draft so far. Safety, the Titans don't need, and defensive tackle. So I don't think you have to worry about the Vikings. The Texans, you look at the Texans, cornerback, outside linebacker, running back. Do they need a running back? No.
The Texans have traded for every running
all
back.
of them. Bill O'Brien has entered the chat, remember?
Yeah,
I'm reading this
Bill
off
O'Brien's
of
going
ESPN.
to trade for Leonard Fournette at some point.
I'm reading this off of ESPN. The next is the Raiders. They don't need more wide receivers. They've already drafted a cornerback. They don't need a quarterback or a running back.
Who? The Raiders?
Yeah.
The Raiders they've been discussed as getting a quarterback at some point.
But why? They have two.
Not with the way that Marcus Mariota's contract is structured.
I agree. I'm just talking about what a lot of discussion has been made of what the Raiders could do is getting a quarterback. Some people said that, hey, Jordan Love's there at 19. They might jump on him then, but obviously they did not. So it looks like the Jordan Elliott pick is about to be announced.
And so the last team is Baltimore, who needs a wide receiver, a defensive end, and an offensive guard. So the only team you really got to worry about if you're the Titans just looking ahead at this is maybe Baltimore taking a wide receiver that you have targeted, but you've probably going to have the pick of the litter of a quarterback if you're going to go that route, a running back if you're going to go that route. If you like Zach Moss, who should still be on the board.
He's gone. Zach Moss is gone.
He went
right
Buffalo.
after we talked about him.
Buffalo. That's right. That's right. He went to Buffalo. So I'm the running back. Maybe it's Anthony McFarland Jr. I think that would be a stretch a little bit.
Yep, I agree.
So let's ask, right? I mean, this may be a little early, but what position do you feel that they should take, right? I feel like this is the time to ask that question.
This is a scary time, though, too. We'll ask that question, so get your comments ready. What position do you want the Titans to take, or do you think they will take? Let's make it prediction time. What do you think they're going to do? Because this is it for a while for the Titans. It's 93, and it's like 80-plus picks later until they're on the board again at 174. So you've got to hit this and get somebody you really like, or you're going to be gone for a long time. Comments are flying in. But first, let me tell you guys about our great sponsors who are making this happen. A to Z Sports NFL Draft Live. Thank you to TennesseeTickets.com. May 9th, you'll get your Titan single game tickets at TennesseeTickets.com. Save yourself a lot of money by using them. Tucker Agency, saving you an average of 20% on your personal insurance in the Nashville area. TuckerTN.com for them. Calvin and Subtle Hardwood and Finishings, serving Nashville, Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs with taking CDC precautions. CalvinandSubtle.com. Also, Buck's got 3 great sponsors helping us out a lot during this draft coverage too.
Our friends at the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, the official realtor of the Tennessee Titans, who will be placing the future draft picks in their Nashville homes of choice. Your dream address without the stress at GaryAshton.com. Our friends at Tame the Beast, who provide you all of your fantastic hygienic grooming products. Groom boldly, be a beast. Use promo code AZ50 at getbeast.com for our friends at Tame the Beast. And Brymac Mechanical, HVAC, heating and cooling for residential and commercial. They will make sure that your temperature is controlled and that your products are serviced adequately as the seasons begin to change. Brymac.com, BRYMAK, Brymac.com.
A to Z Sports, the latest pick, Cameron Dantzler, cornerback from Mississippi State, just went to the Vikings. So, I see that pick, and then I immediately looked up and I saw a comment from somebody. I'm trying to find it. Comments are flying in so fast, they're scrolling by, saying somebody said they cannot pass up Amik Robertson if he's still there. That's our guy Damon right there talking about Amik Robertson. So reading your comments on what position do you think the Titans will pick? Redneck Parrot on YouTube says Darrington Evans, who's the running back out of App State. Justin says running back. Ryan says go quarterback, Jacob Eason. Jonathan Tillman, I think is a good, this would be a good pick for Jonathan Tillman. Jonathan Grenard, an edge player from Florida. I don't know what the Jadeveon Clowney situation is, but Grenard is also very different than Vic Beasley and Harold Landry, who they currently have as their edge guys. Grenard's a heavier player, kind of more like a Brian Arakpo later in his career when it comes to being strong in the run game, but also having playmaking ability. I think Grenard would be a fantastic pick at 93.
Yeah, so my gut tells me that they're going to go offense. So I think Clowney's still in the wings. I think it's between running back and quarterback. I would not be surprised if they go Jacob Eason. It's either Jacob Eason or a running back. And it's such a crapshoot. I have no clue which running back that they would target. I thought A.J. Dillon would be great. He's long gone. Now you're kind of working with the second to third tier, really, the third tier running backs. It's either Jacob Eason or I'll go with the guy from App State. I think I would like that. Jonathan
Grenard just went to the Houston Texans right there at pick number 90. So Jonathan Grenard, who we just spent some time talking about, goes 2-3 spots ahead of where the Titans are picking to a division rival.
I can't see them passing up the ability to take a shot at one of these two quarterbacks. They're both.
Do you think they trade back? And we had a comment. Do they trade back because somebody else wants them?
That'd be their leverage. That's why they couldn't get out of 29 with Jordan Love. They got leapfrogged.
And they may get leapfrogged too, right? Who knows who may trade up above them.
Right, because New England's currently on the clock right now, and Baltimore still has to go. We know that the Patriots, of course, need a quarterback, and this would affect it because the Pats just traded up with the Raiders right now. So this would be the idea that they would be leapfrogging somebody.
That's what's happening. I bet you the Patriots take a quarterback
Jacob Eason. This is the Patriots are jumping the Titans twice today.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's Bill Belichick with his dog Bark Belichick up here making moves to get ahead of Mike Vrabel and John Robinson.
This will be interesting. So let's take a pick. Who do you think the Patriots take?
I think it's Jacob. I think it's Jacob Eason. That's
Fromm.
You think they like
You're anti-Fromm, Austin?
Yeah, I know. I've established that very well.
He's right to be. I just think for what they ask quarterbacks to do there, I think Fromm makes a lot of sense. There he is in his kitchen. Straight out of 1985.
That table looks like the Boston Celtics old parquet floor. I mean, what is that thing? He might have gotten it from the Garden there in Boston. I mean, this is It's interesting. I think, Scott says I'm a Fromophobe. I'm absolutely a Jake Fromophobe. I will take that title and run with it.
I do think this is them jumping. This is their quarterback.
Look at Roger Goodell like leaning back in the chair.
Roger's
what is he doing?
He's 3 glasses. This is the new laid back, relaxed TikTok pullover Raj. This is the relatable commish. This is the guy. He's taking his LeBron style turn. I
have a poll. The Patriots went with Devin Asiasi, tight end from UCLA, so that's boring. Who is more relatable, Bill Belichick or Roger Goodell? Because I think both those guys are so unrelatable to the regular human being. And we've seen Roger Goodell trying to relax in his mahogany leather chair, and then Bill Belichick feed treats to his dog. Like that's their attempts at becoming relatable right now.
I think Bill Belichick's appearance in the Saban Belichick documentary did him great service with his Q rating, because he was the much more likable of the two. In that, I think he's doing a lot more TV now because he cares about how Bill Belichick is viewed publicly, and the legacy of Bill Belichick with this best 100 players in the history of the NFL project that he did with Chris Collinsworth last year. I think that Bill Belichick is probably the more relatable of these people right now, because without Brady, they just, he doesn't have the same spiteful aura.
So Belichick gets a tight end. That's interesting.
I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's because
why did he jump those? Like, what other?
The Ravens love tight ends. Now, I don't know if they have enough roster spots to draft another one, but they
don't need any more tight ends. The Titans can't have any more tight ends. They've signed all their guys. They got Jonnu Smith-Ferguson and Michael Pruitt. They just did that. Like, I'm not questioning Bill Belichick. He knows a ton more about football and roster spots than I do. That was a head-scratching move, and I can't understand why they have not taken a quarterback. They have another pick. I mean,
they had 5 picks today.
Right. So they have their next pick is
it's like 97. I don't know what they gave up to move right there, or where they moved from, but they had 5 picks today.
They were at 100 and now they're gone.
Right. They probably
Raiders.
Right. They probably moved up from 100 to that.
They don't have any more picks the rest of the way.
So they've drafted 4 guys. And so that's what they just did. They traded the last their 5th pick to go up and get that one. So right now the Baltimore Ravens are on the clock, and then the Tennessee Titans will be on the clock after the Baltimore Ravens. And the Ravens, Eric DeCosta, their VP and GM, is on the phone right now. So it looks like we will not be waiting too much longer before the Tennessee Titans are on the clock. And the pick is in. The pick.
You think it could be Devin Duvernay?
They need wide receiver help so bad for Lamar.
But they love wide receivers. They don't need any more small wide receivers.
All right, so we'll see. What do you think the Ravens do here? Who's the best available on the board right now?
The best available. Well, Duvernay's the best wide receiver on the board right now, but he's not as big as the Antonio Gandy Golden from Liberty, he's the 6'4" wide receiver that they would. Ooh, Colin Johnson. Ooh, dude.
I don't like Colin Johnson.
You don't?
No.
I do.
Colin Johnson, he's one-trick pony. He's a really tall pony, and that's his trick. That's about it. Colin Johnson doesn't really do much for me.
He can catch.
Yeah, he can go up and get the football, but that's about it. He's very limited
with his hands. I value hands catchers.
Sure, that's fine, but again, he's not going to give you much when it comes to running multiple routes. He's very limited to just being a kind of a deep ball like fade guy. That's what Colin Johnson was the whole time at Texas. So the pick is in for the Baltimore Ravens. The Tennessee Titans are officially on the clock.
There's going to be some excitement with this Titans pick. So this is where we're look. The blood starts flowing a little bit. This could be quarterback central. You never know.
I'm going to start sitting back in my chair like pull over Roger Goodell. Can I lean back? And
I'll tell you what, I've been sitting in the same stance for 2.5 hours. I've gone through 2 bottles of water and a protein shake.
Kick back a little bit. Enjoy, relax. We got time. They're making a pick. We're going to find out who the Titans are taking because they are officially on the clock. Oh,
I would be.
The
quarterback thing is a question mark, but I would be okay with Devin Duvernay because I think he is the best wide receiver on the board.
Ravens just took him
because he's gone now. Do you go quarterback here?
I knew it. I knew that. God. My TV says, "Are you still there?"
Yes. You haven't moved in forever. Are you still alive? Asking you. Yeah. So look,
man. I said that. I said, look, Devin Duvernay is the best wide receiver on the board. The Baltimore Ravens need a wide receiver. That's who they picked. So that's a good look. Lamar Jackson is just getting loaded. They are really going all in. They're attacking the Kansas City Chiefs, right? They're trying to fight fire with fire.
Yeah, and I think the Titans need more defense. I think they have to go corner again. I think double dipping corner is the way to go. Amik Robertson from La Tech. That is who I want and who I really think the Titans should go after. I don't know what the hell they're going to do, but
I think if I was them, I would trade. There's got to be somebody. I mean, Jacobin.
Well, the pick is already in, so I'll just tell you that the TV says the pick is already in.
Jacob Eason was wretched in his interviews, apparently in Indianapolis.
Well, apparently so was Christian Fulton. That's why he fell to 61. So the pick is in. As they didn't waste any time on getting that pick in. It was like Devin Duvernay.
Well, we went through it. That's why I went through the 5 above them. There wasn't any competition. So their guy, this is actually good if you can kind of read the tea leaves. Whoever they picked, this is a guy they wanted.
Sure, they knew immediately. There was no thought about it. They wanted to go ahead and do it. So the pick is in for the Tennessee Titans. I have not seen anything on Twitter. I don't know if you guys
I'm watching it very closely.
I know you are. If anybody's more addicted to Twitter, then it's Buck.
Oh, please.
More addicted to me than of Twitter than you.
Who are you talking to? Out of here.
You are. You are all over the Twitter, in the Twitter sewers. That's what you say there, Buck. So people are saying, do not spoil the pick. We'll find out together what the Titans do. We'll see if we get another look inside Mike Vrabel's house. Eric DaCosta has a very Florida Airbnb look to his place with a teal bookshelf. John Harbaugh very fired up about Devin Duvernay being the pick there. So Buck, what's your last prediction if you haven't seen it already?
Running back.
You think it's running back?
I think it's running back.
Who are you going to go with? What running back?
Man, I mean, the best one of God, I really hate that Zach Moss got taken there. I mean, LaMichael Pirine is still there from Florida. I think that he makes sense. He has things that he can do. Darrington Evans from Appalachian State is a solid player. I don't think I like them here in the 3rd. I think it may be too high, but I feel like if they wait much longer, they're going to lose what exactly they need in a second running back.
Yeah, I agree. They need to take a running back. I would be surprised if they went quarterback here. I think it's running back. That's my prediction.
And of course, commercial. That's exactly what I was going to say. This is the second time today that a commercial break has delayed the announcement of the Titans pick. So we'll see if Relax Goodell comes in and does this. So let's just run through and look at the top players on the board that is according to ESPN. ESPN has Jake Fromm, Jacob Eason, number 1 and number 2, Adam Troutman, tight end from Dayton, Amik Robertson, who's my guy from Louisiana Tech, LaMichael Pirine, who Buck just brought up, running back from Florida, Trey Adams, tackle from Washington. They're obviously out on that with the Isaiah Wilson pick. Terrell Burgess, safety, don't need that. Harrison Bryant, tight end from FAU, with Lane Kiffin down there. And then Troy Dye, outside linebacker from Oregon. There are many other guys, but those are the top 7 or 8 guys on the board available for the Tennessee Titans as they're on the clock. And I don't know exactly what to expect here, and I haven't seen anything from Twitter.
No, listen, they I think they're taking Darrington Evans.
You think or you know?
I think.
Okay.
I think that's going to be the pick. I don't know that for certain, but the Especially based on the text message I just got, I think it's going to be Darrington Evans. I think I'm willing to go. I'm comfortable saying it's going to be Darrington Evans.
I would like that. I think they need a running back. He's versatile. I mean, if you watch any of the Appalachian Station, yep, that it is. If you watch any of the App State games, the guy can do a lot. Yeah, that's the pick.
I should have tweeted it. Breaking news. A little busy. Darrington Evans out of Appalachian State is a solid option. You could make the argument for Michael Pirine, but I do really think that their skill sets are similar. He's undersized. He's 5'10", 203. I mean, he's not undersized. I guess he's more what a prototypical running back looks like. He's undersized, but anybody's undersized when they're standing next to Derrick Henry.
Right.
But he's got explosiveness. He's got top end speed. He's got great burst, and I like his instincts in the open field. He's able to operate well within space, which means you can split him out wide and take advantage of things that way. I think that he helps you in the passing game, and he's a threat after the catch. All of these things line up really, really well for Darrington Evans, the running back out of Appalachian State.
Zach, how do you feel about it?
Oh, I like the pick because, look, I haven't done as much research. I watched because Austin and I, you remember we bet on Appalachian State. What was you picked Appalachian State?
I rode them pretty strong for a few weeks. I picked them I picked them money line to beat South Carolina, and they did it.
Yeah, so he's a shifty running back. I like the pick because they needed to address, again, the back-to-back picks are team needs. They got to have a backup for Derrick Henry. Dion Lewis is long gone, and even though it's coronavirus season, flu season is not your answer. So, I like the pick. He was the best available running back at the time. Christian Fulton fell in your lap. You couldn't pick anybody else besides that in the second round. Now you go with the running back. The other thing that it makes me feel good about this entire draft is I think the Isaiah Wilson pick in the first round tells me that they are putting their chips in with Derrick Henry, which I love because that's who they're trying to build around. And now they have a nice piece, right? A counterpiece to go beside Derrick Henry. It's not bearing down as a replacement. I don't see him as a replacement, right? I see him as a nice it's one of those guys that can come in on third down like Dion Lewis, but give you more production. I like the pick. I like going running back at that spot.
So looking up some info on Darrington Evans, 2 years this past season, 2019, 255 carries for 1,480 yards, averaged 5.8 yards a carry, 18 touchdowns. He had 21 catches for 198 yards, 5 receiving touchdowns. So 23 total touchdowns. Here's a big stat. 0 fumbles lost in his entire career of 3 years at App State. His second year at App State, he ran for 1,100, almost 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns, but a lot more production in the receiving game and also just more opportunities this past year at App State. And that was a really good football team too. 5'11", 200 pounds. He's got enough size. You're right. He's not Derrick Henry size, but I think this makes sense with trying to complement Derrick Henry in 2020 and potentially moving forward.
So now that they have everything that they're going to do tonight, assuming that they don't swap back into the third round, I think that's completely not feasible and would be nearly impossible given that Kansas City is nearly on the clock. What do we think of the first 2 days of the Titans draft with filled needs at offensive tackle, cornerback, who is about a dream scenario as you could get at cornerback, and a running back who fills a need as the complement to Derrick Henry?
Zach, I'll let you touch on this first.
Well, I think overall, look, it's not as we talked about, the sexiest draft, but it accomplished what they need in the time that they needed. They still got to go get a quarterback, in my opinion, to back up Ryan Tannehill. I will go to my grave on that. But I like the offensive. I can get on board with the offensive line because of how the first round shook out. I like that, right? And I think you had to replace Jack Conklin. Dennis Kelly can be a good, serviceable, manageable right tackle for the time being, but they got a big hog molly up front in Isaiah Wilson. Guy fell in your lap with Christian Fulton. That was a no-brainer. And now you addressed a hole, right? They had 2 holes on the offense. Well, they probably had 3, which is replacing Tajay Sharp, backup quarterback, and backup running back. In the third round, they go out and get a backup running back to complement Derrick Henry. I like what they've done. Again, it doesn't just fly off the page and say, it's not like what the Ravens are doing. The Ravens are sitting there like, whoa, there's some big names. But I think John Robinson, I think he's happy with the position. He loves trading. He didn't trade. Look, Vrabel's sitting there smiling on the television. He's loving it. Frozone's not there. I mean, he's
loving it because Frozone's not there.
He's showing the guns off a little bit, rubbing the arms with the short sleeves on. That's what he was doing there.
Well, he's sore from having to carry the Bussin' with the Boys Barstool team in the
but
middle.
I like this. I like the draft. It's not, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. This isn't the Derrick Henry type draft, but they didn't have those type of picks. I think they did very well with the picks, the first three that they had.
Here's what it is. It's what John Robinson's drafting career has almost always been. It's filling obvious needs. Now, they are helped hugely by the idea that the draft order kind of fell to them in this way. But each year that John Robinson has had one of these drafts, obviously rebuilding from a much depleted roster, the needs on the Titans offense and defense have been pretty obvious for him to be able to plug these guys into where Fulton falls in your lap and Darrington Evans fits a need, and there may be options that are equal to or lesser than or gives you different attributes that Darrington Evans may not. But what he is at his core is somebody that helps add this extra dimension that you were not able to get with Dion Lewis as Derrick Henry's backup, and now you have a guy with experience at wide receiver as your backup running back. It just makes all the sense in the world. And sometimes it's not overthinking it. Sometimes it's just doing the obvious thing.
Well, and we've talked about whenever we've discussed the backup running back position, why they didn't want to go with one of the heavy hitter running backs is because that guy's probably getting max 100 touches in the season because Derrick Henry's still going to carry the load. One thing that Darrington Evans does do is all 3 years of his college career, he has returned one kickoff for a touchdown. So he's got kickoff return ability. He's got speed. So Khalif Raymond did a fine job at kick return, but maybe Darrington Evans can take that to the next level and really break something open. So 3 years in college at App State, 3 kick returns for touchdown, 1 a year.
Not bad. Listen, you need guys that can contribute special teams value. You lost a bunch of dudes who did in free agency this year. This is the part, we're now in the part where they can just fill these holes in the roster at the bottom end, and they're showing the 2 quarterbacks now between Fromm and Eason, and both look incredibly uncomfortable. Jake Fromm also wearing the attire of what I believe to be a 55-year-old man. He may be the most boring college quarterback prospect of all time.
Jacob Eason's laying there on his L couch, and it looks like his girlfriend, I could only assume, is sitting there asking questions, and he's just like, be quiet.
I don't have the answers.
I don't know why.
If I were one of these guys, I would just say that, yeah, the battery died. The battery died on the camera. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Shut it down. Shut it down.
Overall, on this draft, though, I think all Titans fans, you have to sit there and you have to look at it this way. They went to the AFC Championship game. They're picking at the bottom of these rounds. And they don't have that many picks. The most picks that they had are in the last round of the draft. They haven't traded, right? They haven't got any more picks. They've stuck on all of their spots. That's not great draft position. So no. I think for what they have, and that's hard to realize, right? Because Titans fans, we followed this draft for years. You're used to having a ton of picks. The Derrick Henry draft, you had 3 picks in that round. Mm-hmm. And then you had 2 picks in the first round to get Corey Davis and Adoree Jackson. This is because you're a good football team, and the Titans have not gone to the AFC Championship game in 17 years. That's the main reason why this is probably not the most exciting draft that you've been a part of, is just because 29th at the end of each round is tough.
Again, obvious, not exciting. And sometimes obvious is just what you need.
Well, and hey, that 4th round pick that the Titans don't have, that's Ryan Tannehill. So, that's the reason. That's definitely worth what you gave up.
Good point.
So I do. It's the 3 7th round picks. Those were never going to really get you much on Thursday or tonight in terms of moving up. The 3 7th round picks or for moving up and moving around tomorrow at some point. So that is where I'm curious to see how John Robinson works it because they've only had 10 total draft picks in the last 2 years combined. They might have 7 or less this year. They're going to have to rely on a lot of undrafted free agents to really come in and compete to fill out this roster because they're near the bottom of the league when it comes to least players under contract going into the draft. So they're going to have some undrafted guys make a push to make the team.
Before we get out of here, I want to ask a question. Do you think Fromm or Eason, do you think they're drafted in the second round or in the third round?
No.
You think they're third 3-day guys?
Let's look. Let's see what the draft tracker's at. Let's see.
That's the storyline of the rest of the night, right?
Yeah.
We're sitting here at 10:30. That's the storyline.
Listen, the interview for Eason, I know for a fact the interviews for Jacob Eason in Indianapolis did not go well. People didn't like the way that he was just kind of treating it super casually. I mean, I don't know how many people have heard Jacob Eason speak, but this is a situation where he's just being hurt by the idea that people couldn't visit with him individually, I think, at this point. And you get the FaceTime meetings and all of this, but I really think he's
I think that's one of the reasons why Isaiah Wilson is on the Tennessee Titans.
They fell in love with him immediately
because of how he interviewed. Just show me that you care. I mean, that's anybody. But some people don't. They don't give a rip and they slough it off. This is your life. Like, show me that you care. I guess I don't understand that. If that was in fact how the interviews went, I don't get it.
Now Roger Goodell is standing up to Super Bowl chop with the Chiefs and then sitting back down in his chair to make the announcement. Like there's this, it's so forced. But anyway, so the question is, do Fromm or Eason go tonight? I think there's an opportunity for both of them to go. So the Pittsburgh Steelers have pick 102. Right now, we're about to jump on to pick 97. So 102 for the Steelers. That could be something there. Duck Hodges. You want Duck Hodges to be behind Ben Roethlisberger as he comes back?
What about 100 for the Raiders? You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, I thought about that. I don't think the Raiders are going to do that right now.
High of a quarterback.
Yeah, I think the time for the Raiders to jump on a quarterback has passed. So I say 102 at the Steelers. What about 105 at the Minnesota Vikings? I don't know who the Vikings backup is behind Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins signed a 3-year contract, and he's going into the last year of it. And I don't think they've re-upped it since then. So 102 to the Steelers and 105 to the Vikings. I could see one or both of these guys going.
Sean Mannion.
Exactly.
Sean Mannion from the league?
Exactly.
Ooh.
Sean Mannion. Potential Titans offensive coordinator candidate, right, Buck?
No, shut up. It's like Malcolm Butler off IR. I can't with Sean Mannion.
That was the first Malcolm Butler off IR.
Oh my God, Manuary and DeHember and all of these stupid things that Zach Lyons from the F Words Pod thrust upon my mentions.
So what do you think? What do you think about my two options, the Steelers and the Vikings? You think either happens?
I could see Eason fits well with the Steelers.
I think so too. Big arm, throw it down the field. I think that makes sense.
The Steelers have just run through like their backups have. I mean, from Landry Jones to Josh Dobbs to they just drafted a quarterback last year in
Hodges.
Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph was 2 years ago.
And they got him pretty high, didn't they?
How about this? Jacob Phillips, another 615 prospect, just goes right there to the Cleveland Browns at pick 97 and the 10th LSU Tiger. 10 LSU players in the top 97. That's just nuts. Absolutely nuts.
I'm going to be interested to see what LSU football looks like after all of this attrition, because they had some of the best talent in the sport. Obviously, they've
had it for years. They've had the best talent in the league or the SEC for 2 decades.
Just not a quarterback.
Yeah, not a quarterback or a coach who knew what to do with it.
Yeah.
All right,
we should see.
We will see. All right, guys, we are out of here. We've been going live for 2 hours, 43 minutes, and 24 seconds. I think this is officially our longest show, maybe not. I'm not sure, but great conversations throughout the entire show. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Tennessee Tickets, Renters Warehouse, Tucker Agency, Calvin and Subtle, Gary Ashton, Tame the Beast, and Tennessee Heating and Cooling and the Brymac Mechanical, all of the sponsors that made this happen. Thank you guys for joining us all across Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, Twitch. We've done some fun things over the last couple of days.
I got to say this before we get out of here, all right? I still have guys left on the board for tomorrow that I have called, and I've done this on purpose to keep my Saturday alive for the Tennessee Titans. So I got 3 guys to look out for, all right? First, Rashard Lawrence of LSU. He's still on the board, defensive tackle. Another defensive tackle, Lecky Fotu. Watch out for old Lecky Fotu. And last but not least, you got to rev up your hot rod every once in a while. 7th round, Rodrigo Blankenship, possibly to the Titans. Those are my 3 guys. Those are my 3 hopes. I got Christian Fulton. Bucks got Isaiah Wilson. Austin, do you have any more in the bag?
I got Amik Robertson and Darnay Holmes left. That's all I've got. That's all.
Hold on to him. Cherish him.
I know. I'm hoping for an early trade up on day 3 to go get another corner. That's all I'm banking on right now.
Well, this was a lot of fun, boys, and I look forward to doing it at length over the next couple drafts or however many drafts we do together. It's going to be a great time.
Well, the plan is, are we going to Cleveland next year? Is that worth it? Because the draft's going to be in Cleveland at the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio.
If people stop eating bats, we'll be there.
There it is. There it is. It just took 2 hours and 45 minutes for the first bat reference of this broadcast.
I mean, listen, we only got through 2 hours and 45 minutes before he said it. So I think we're making strides. You're becoming more tolerant, and I appreciate that.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of your night. We'll see what happens with the quarterbacks. And tomorrow we will not be going live because that would be so long. And the Titans do not pick for like 68 picks until they are on the clock tomorrow. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a great night. We'll see you later on.
Adios.
Peace and love.